We have one remaining with the individual, and he's not going to let her leave the aircraft at this time.
He made me feel very sure that we had a very real and horrifying threat.
We don't know who he was, where he came from, or where he went.
Hello, everybody. Hello, children. Children of all ages, Kooperites of all persuasions. I have with me today my new friend who I met recently. This is Eli Kooris. Eli is a director, and I believe, like myself, we have significant others from the UK, correct?
We do. Well, my wife, she's Irish, but she was born in Scotland. So it's all
okay.
They wouldn't like me saying this, but it's all one and the same.
Right. Close enough. Close enough.
Right.
Close enough. They're over there. They're the over there people. Okay. So
right.
Anyway, yeah. So basically, Eli is the director of American Skyjacker. And there is Max Harley. Our friend Max says, the American Skyjacker movie is awesome. I saw it like 10 times already. I know Max got it on Amazon or wherever it is. But yeah, so Eli and I are both friends with the I don't know how to describe Mac. How would you describe Mac?
The doppelganger for DB Cooper, the copycat, the most.
I mean, like his personality. Just mean like
his personality. Yeah, I don't know. He's a bit of an iconoclast, I suppose. You know, a criminal iconoclast, maybe.
Yeah, he's just unique. I said, I mean, probably one of the most unique people, you know, I've ever encountered in my life, I would say. I mean, I'm sure you could probably agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely encountered and interviewed a lot of very interesting, unique people, and Mac is right up there at the top. And it's also because he spent 37 years in prison, and now he is, kept his personality and a certain amount of charm and also acerbicsness, I guess, you know. He can be short times, but that happens, you know. And it's just
I mean, that's what happens when you are institutionalized, I guess, for 37 years. Is
absolutely
Mac's tough.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle that he is the person he is today, because he really is a genuinely good guy. And after seeing 37 years with some of the hardest people in some of the hardest places, you know, it's tough to keep that soul, you know. So
yeah, I mean, you know, Mac was. You know, where Mac ended up in prison was the replacement for Alcatraz.
Yeah.
So
it was the first Supermax in America, Marion Prison in Illinois, and it's only multiplied from there as far as Supermax prisons go. But it was definitely the toughest for a while.
Well, and so let me give some shout outs to people. Hello, Tom X Man. Hello to Max again. Hello, Michael. Hello to BBG in Cornwall. Hi, Oracle. How are you, Oracle? Join Jen's been in the chat for a while. But yes, Join Jen said that we could start. There's DB Cooper himself. He says, hello. Good evening, Ryan. Let's see. I'm back after some seizures lately. Dodger, I hope you're okay, my man. That's some seizures. That doesn't sound fun. Let's go, Ole Miss. Well, hotty toddy, I guess. With our coachless team. Yes. So somebody says, well, first question, somebody says, let me just back up. Let me just go ahead and throw this out there as a thing. This is, thank you for the super chat, from $1, £1.99. They don't have 99-cent pound, or do they? I don't think they do, but 1.99
pence.
Okay, well, £1.99 is like $85 in American money, or no, it's like 10 cents in American money, I guess. Or wait, how does it go?
It's opposite. They're like 2 pounds is probably like $3-4 here.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so yeah, it's like $85 is. Yeah, you'll pay like you go into if you go into McDonald's, it's like £4 for a burger, and it's like $8 when you get home and see what it is on your bank card. Like, shit.
It feels cheap when you're over there. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, here we go. From Northern Ireland. It's past your bedtime there, Gareth. Goodness gracious. Another new fan. Oh, Mittens from the UK. She is from the UK. Okay. Hello, everybody. But so the first question is, which platforms is it? Just like, it's for rental now or purchase?
It's for purchase. It's for purchase or rental on Apple, on YouTube TV, on Google Play. It'll be on Amazon. Next week it'll be on Amazon. And then the week after that, it'll be on Fandango and Home, all for buy or rent. Or if you want to give us, the filmmakers, more money, you can go to Vimeo, where we have our own OTT. All of this is on our website at AmericanSkyjacker.com, which I'm typing in right now for people to easily access.
Yes, AmericanSkyjacker.com. So for those who don't know, Eli, like I said, is the director of American Skyjacker, which most of you people who are watching are gonna know Mac's story. Obviously, I have talked nonstop about McNally for a long time because I have developed this friendship with obviously I'm such a study of Cooper that I've developed this friendship with a DB Cooper. And it's fascinating to be able to like text a DB Cooper. For example, I remember like some of the things I used to text Mac. I was like, did you drink anything on the plane? And he goes, and he wrote back, not after I became a hijacker. And I was like, good answer. Because we know that from Cooper. Cooper rejected all refreshments after he had a first drink before he became the hijacker. And it's like, why would Cooper do that? And I put in my book, well, McNally, told this author that he was afraid of being drugged.
Yeah.
Which did happen.
Even Sharon Madiow, when she was talking to us, she was like, we considered it. We had some Advil and Tylenol and everything like that. And me and some of the other stewardesses, flight attendants, we're thinking about crushing him up and putting him into a drink and drugging him. And he was just rejecting everything,
Yep. And I think that's why Cooper was cautious about that too. That makes sense. And and you may not know this as not being a Cooperite per se. Yeah. I reference this a lot, but there actually was a famous case. Glenn Tripp was this guy's name. He was a young skyjacker out of Portland, actually. And Glenn Tripp, they drugged him. They put Valium in his drinks. And he kept ordering Cokes, just like wasn't drinking alcohol, it was just Cokes. And he kept drinking, and his demands, this is God's honest truth. The loopier he got, that he kept lowering his demands. So he started out like $500,000. And eventually, I swear to God, his last demand was 3 cheeseburgers and a head start in a getaway car. Swear to God. And they were like, okay, we have your cheeseburgers out here. So he like wandered, he staggered out there and they arrested him. But yeah, 3 cheeseburgers and a head start.
Did he even get the cheeseburgers is my question.
No, don't think there were any cheeseburgers. But anyway, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show the trailer for those who haven't seen this. I'm going to roll the trailer here and we can talk about the filming of everything. Let me do this now.
It was an ordinary flight turned extraordinary when a man in black, registered as DB Cooper, made a bomb threat.
Can you hear me on the headphone?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. It was the DB Cooper case that changed my life. I thought that's the way to do a score. Don't panic, do what I say, and follow my instructions. I don't know that they've got 5 sharpshooters on me.
And it went through my mind, we can jump in.
I can feel the air going through my fingers. And I was thinking, boy, this is balls.
That car took off toward that airplane, and it was very, very clear to all of us there. It's going to crash into that plane.
Martin McNally meets another skyjacker.
Garrett Trapnell was evil.
Cut! Let's get the hell out of here.
There we go. Okay. Well, there we go. So one thing that I do appreciate is the dedication to some historical accuracy as far as like the stewardess outfits, United wore Navy outfits. And obviously in our case, our girls are wearing these red, the red stewardess outfits. And I just loved how much identity they had back then. And you just don't see that anymore with flight attendants wearing, I'm obviously they were wearing, more revealing clothes back then, but just as far as like being colorized, like the only place I see it is in the UK. If you go to a Heathrow or somewhere, you'll see the Virgin Airlines all wear red and the BA people all wear navy. But in America, they all wear like little navy clothes these days. They don't care anymore. Like, what is this country coming to? I can't tell my steward. I can't tell my flight attendants apart. Yeah. But anyway, I like that though. But the guy who played Mac was really good. Like, he just auditioned for that role.
Yeah. So we spent a lot of time on the casting side of it because we made this decision really early on that we were like, we're going to show everybody's face. Like you have to see faces to tell this story. If you don't see faces, it's going to be a lot of like half faces and rack focus and it'll just be boring. And there seems to be this rule in recreations and documentaries that you can't show faces. And we were like, that's stupid. Who made that rule? We're going to throw it out the window. And like if you watch just about any Netflix or Amazon doc these days, you don't see faces. And we just decided to make that decision. And I think it's worked. And if those who don't think it worked, and they can turn it off after the second shot because it's in the second shot. So we spent a lot of time on casting knowing that it had to match, and especially on Mac since he is the main dude. And we found Logan. The interesting thing about Logan is not only we were looking for the eyes to match, but weirdly Logan's teeth match. Like if you watch it, and Max, who has now seen it 10 times, he said, might have noticed this and that the teeth actually line right up between Mac McNally's and Logan's. It was a kind of a happy accident. We were like, perfect. It works really, really well. And so we tried that as best we could with the people that our casting agents could pull for other folks too. You don't have like the best actors signing up for recreating a documentary most times. But man, we lucked out. We got an incredible slew of people.
Great. And the guy playing Trap looks a lot like Trap.
He does. He was really good. Yeah, and it was a natural mustache. That was important.
But that's important too. Speaking of which, I learned the other day, this is a random non sequitur, which happens a lot on my show, that all of the mustaches in Tombstone were real.
Yeah.
So because that Kurt Russell mustache is amazing.
You just can't. It's tough to recreate it. I mean, nothing against the hair and makeup people, because there's amazing ones out there, but nothing beats the natural thing. And honestly, like that plays into a lot of the locations in this too. Like, there's a little bit of green screen usage, but we really wanted a lot of practical stuff. We had a real skydiving team. We found a real 727. We got a whole airport for a day that we were able to use for a lot of stuff. Like it was a real undertaking, and we wanted to be real and on location.
It feels real. Obviously it practical effects and things. I appreciate the lack of CGI that was overt or whatever, which is expensive though, I guess too. I mean, there's no need to do that if you don't have to.
It's less expensive these days, really. And honestly, but it always bothers me. And I feel like you can do the real practical thing. I mean, there's a reason that the original Star Wars are more beloved than most of the other ones, is because it's all practical. They were using real like puppets and some animatronics and everything like that. It just you can subtly feel it as a viewer.
Well, it's like it's almost like the uncanny valley thing, right? Our brains can tell what's real and what's not, and everything looked good in this movie. And it's interesting. Now that I think about it, there is no dialogue. Like, well, wait, no.
There's a few moments.
Yeah, there's a few moments. Doesn't he shout after the wreck? Doesn't that actor shout that?
Yeah,
get the plane going?
And then he said, there's a couple moments where we would come back to it. We recorded audio for some of it. To be honest with you, we didn't really worry about sound too much because we knew it was going to kind of be this merge thing, and we kind of didn't. We knew Mac's audio was going to be, or storytelling was going to be dominant, and so we kind of put it in the back seat and only used it like sporadically.
So I want to know the timeline of this, because obviously I listened to, all of us, most of us have listened to American Skyjacker. I've listened to it several times, the podcast, for years. I mean, it's been out for years, right?
Yeah, it came out in 2020.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So all of this was filmed back then, right? For you guys.
So yeah, so I'll give you the timeline without getting too deep in the weeds of Hollywood land, and the business stuff. We initially were trying to turn the article that was written about Mac, called The Final Fight of Martin McNally, written by Danny Wicentowski, into a scripted project. We are screenwriters. I've sold many different screenplays over the course of my career with Josh, my co-director and writing partner. And we had started down this road. It takes forever. Sometimes it doesn't ever happen. It's just an endless bashing your head against the wall, basically. And we end up hearing from Danny that Mac is alive and well and wants to talk to us. And we're like, great, we get on the phone with him. He's like, come out to St. Louis. Would you do an interview on camera? Sure, I'll do an interview on camera. So we go out to St. Louis, get him on camera. We spend 4 days shooting him. We get this whole interview. Matt, the majority of what you see was shot in mid-2019. And then suddenly we felt we had a documentary on our hands. We never made a documentary before. We didn't know what the fuck we're doing. And we start pitching it out to different places in this company called Imperative Entertainment, who's done films like Killers of the Flower Moon and The Mule and All the Money in the World, like massive movies. They're like, we're starting a podcast department. We love this. We'd love to give you money to make a podcast. Here's a check, which is something that's kind of unheard of in our business, where they're like, no oversight, money, go make it. So that's what we did. We happened to be finishing production 2 weeks before COVID hit and shut everything down, which is the perfect time to produce a podcast and, release a podcast, which is what we did. And then the deal we had with Imperative was that they had the rights to what happens with the project for 2 years. I go back a little bit. We'd shot all the interviews with McNally initially, and we said, we might as well just continue shooting these interviews in case we want to make a documentary at some point in the future. Just bank them. We still get the audio, but we have footage too. It costs a little bit more money, but whatever, we might as well have it. And that really paid off, because after Imperative couldn't figure out how to set up the project for a wide variety of reasons I won't go into here. Nothing against them. They tried very hard, but just the industry is fickle as hell. We got the rights back and we had all this footage. And now we were like, well, we're like 60% of the way there to make a documentary. Now all we have to do is do all the recrees, which is a hell of an undertaking too, and find all the archive, which is also its own beast. But we did all that, and that's what started us down the road. So I think we would, to go back to the timeline thing, we really started making the film in 2023. And we produced all of the recrees and got the archive in 2023 into 24. And then it was just the editing and just getting everything up. And, it's a low budget thing, so it just takes a little bit longer.
And so how long was filming the recreations?
We shot it. It was 13 days of filming, and we shot that over the course of about a month or so. Okay. There was the first 2 days were at the airport. We got an airport in an area called Perris, California, Perris, not Paris. Right. Unfortunately, didn't have the budget for that. But it's a skydiving airport, and they also had a 727 on site that people skydive out of.
Oh, right.
It's one of the only places where you can skydive out of it. Now they don't actually have it cleared for skydiving. So the actual skydive didn't go out of that. It went out of another plane that they do skydiving out of. But they're like a totally professional shop. And the great thing about them was that they also have all these runways and roads and side things. So you don't have to reserve roads. Like any shot you see in a film or television show that's on a road, it's an undertaking, even if it's a small shot, because you have to block the road off, you have to control it and everything like that. There's all these different things production-wise, but if you control the road yourself already as part of the deal, it saved us a ton of money ultimately. And so we shot the first 2 days there. Then we rented an entire prison that had been decommissioned in California, which has a ton of prisons. And then we spent about 5 days on a lot that had a fuselage, which is the interiors of the plane and everything like that. Bunch of other sets, had an old motel set, court set, all sorts of stuff.
Courtroom, the courtroom set,
yeah. And so there's like
the hotel and
the hotel, the courtroom.
There's a bar. You have a bar, don't you?
Yeah, the bar was this bar that we kind of like haphazardly put together out of another set, and it looked great. Our production designer
it's fine.
Made miracles happen. Like my favorite set is a very brief scene with all of his cohorts where there's the camera.
Cronies. Yeah.
between each of them. And we literally walked into this room that was a room that had wood paneled walls. And I was like, turn this into a place where they're plotting a thing. And she was like, okay, give me 2 days. It's going to take a minute. But she did it. She nailed it, knocked it out of the park.
You know, one thing that is like, and the thing about your show, the thing is, it's like, it's like his story is so expansive that there were things that were cut that like that big ones that I was like, wow, like for example, like I was surprised, but just time, I guess. I mean, I know from myself editing videos that you just sometimes you have to sacrifice part of your baby just for the flow of things, you know. But like the fact that it was not mentioned that the guy who gave him a ride into Peru was the freaking like sheriff of that county or the chief of police, I think. Like he was
the chief of police.
Yeah.
We just have him show a badge and he was like, it's a cop. But because it was like we got into, I remember talking specifically about that moment, talking about there's a lot more to the whole, like, you know, there's a lot more drama from him going from the woods and stumbling along the road. And
y'all don't mention the FBI.
The FBI being at the motel and seeing it. We actually shot him walking down the stairs, the FBI agents coming up, cut that. We have a whole sequence with him and Trapnell running for president in prison, cut that.
Right.
And the reason we did it was because it was all about pace. Because the goal of the film, I said very early on, was like, this needs to feel like an action movie. So we've been calling it an action documentary. And it needs to feel like it was shot out of a cannon. And if people want more info, they'll listen to the podcast, you know, or we'll make a television series, you know, down the line, something like that. And so there, like you said, you have to sacrifice some things just for the flow, because we just wanted Mac to be telling the story to the viewer like we're sitting over a couple beers. And you're like, and then what happened, you know, sort of thing. So there's some details that are kind of left out to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it doesn't, you know, undercut it. And I don't think it does, because I think there's a lot of people who are going to come in independently without hearing the podcast initially and then listen to the podcast later for the deeper dive. But, you know, for all of you guys who are true believers and fans, you know, I hope it.
Because it's I mean, there's 10 hours or whatever the podcast is there. 8 hours, 10 hours, something like that.
It's like about seven times.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. But it's incredible. And like all the stuff about what's the helicopter pilot, like he had a fascinating life, and that was just
it's an incredible story. Yeah, we couldn't get into that either, because he, you know, you go into this sort of tangential storyline with him. And honestly, Garrett Trapnell, we have a whole interview we shot with Susan Anderson, Garrett Trapnell's wife, who was his wife.
Right. In the podcast. And then was his wife when he was hijacking the plane, and she's corresponding with him while that's going. It's just like incredible stuff. But we couldn't include it because it was tangential to the storyline. Yeah, it works. It works on a long form podcast, but not so much in a paced movie. Or like there was that. What was I gonna say? Did you guys try to reach out to Robin?
We did. I actually spoke with her about a year ago, and we had a couple conversations. And I really was trying to, you know, get her to do an interview, but respectfully, of course, too, because she's been through a lot. Sure. And she just, you know, I think I might have even bought her plane tickets to come out here to sit down for interviews to do it. And then she backed out. She didn't want to do it. And I was like, you know, I get it.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. And honestly, like, you know, there's a lot of, and I think you can go a number of ways with this, especially with true crime podcasts. And most of the ones we've done, we've been kind of trying to be cognizant of people who've lost their lives or really suffered in it, and not to exploit them in that too. And so she's somewhat tangential to what actually, because yes, it was Mac, but there's more Trapnell really. So there's kind of that tangential aspect to it. So I think that what is covered is enough on her, and, you know, bringing it back up and everything like that.
Right. So, yeah. Cause I mean, and that, I mean, that's the one part, you know, of the movie that really is just I mean, it's so gross.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what Trapnell was doing. It's disturbing.
It's totally disturbing. I mean, what's interesting is we have a ton of other stuff on Trapnell too. So there's a whole other like exploration. In fact, the whole Oswald story in my mind has always been its own thing, its own film, honestly. Like, you could take the perspective of this family being torn apart by this mother's obsession, and this book too, which is the other fascinating thing, was that this piece of journalism, nonfiction, kind of fiction that was published and distributed widely, took someone under their spell from a distance. It's almost like what a cult leader, if you published a cult leader manifesto and put it out to the world and saw how many people came to his temple, that's sort of what happened here. And it resulted in the death of this person and ruining
and I know John Douglas, who I've tried to find the quote. I saw it one time, but I could never find it. John Douglas, who is the inspiration for, Mindhunter on Netflix or whatever. John Douglas, somewhere there's a quote where he said that Garrett Trapnell was the most deviously charismatic person he had ever encountered, and all the people he had talked to ever. This includes Ted Bundy and Manson and all of them. He was like, Trapnell was the most smartest, evilest, like, creep, essentially. Which, I mean, look, if you can get a woman to do this for you and then get her daughter to do this for you, I mean, like, that's like almost demonic power.
It's amazing. In a very, very dark way. I mean that in the most negative way, amazing possible. But like, it's mind-boggling, and it also is an insight into how there's certain people out there that can really manipulate other people too. On the Trapnell front, we have and we did a bonus podcast episode. I don't know if y'all have heard it, but there's a bonus podcast about an FBI agent named Leanne Blevins, who approached us after it came out. The podcast came out, and she said she had interviewed or been part of the ABC TV crew for FBI Files who interviewed Trapnell in prison. And they basically did his last television interview. And she maintained a relationship with him. And he sent her his unpublished autobiography, which we have a copy of, but it's only half of it. He only sent her half. And so we have that, and we actually have a few moments that we read from it, but we have it in our possession, and we're planning on doing some bigger things with his unpublished. It's a direct insight into his brain via his writing. It's not a bad read either.
Well, I'm sure he was a good writer. And his hijacking was so stupid. Like, it's like, for a guy who was smart enough to not get caught on so many crimes, skyjacking is essentially, other than Cooper, like a 0% 0% other than Cooper. He's the only one.
There's virtually no way out. Yeah. Especially for him, he wasn't doing a parachute hijacking like Mac and them were. I don't know what he was thinking, and he was doing it to get Angela Davis out of prison. What the hell would that come from? Like, but I think he also thought by that point he could get out of jail at any point because he'd gotten out of jail so many times. He was playing crazy, playing crazy, the insanity defense. He would go to a mental asylum and be like. And he played insanity. They put him in the mental asylum. Mental asylum is terrible security, and he would slowly work his way out of the mental asylum and be on the run again.
Well, he just a creep, and Mac. One thing I appreciated was seeing the pictures of Mac throughout his prison days. Like, there's a photo of him with a beard, which is great. I've never seen Mac with a beard. I've never seen middle-aged Mac. Right? I've seen young Mac and I've seen older Mac. I've never seen middle-aged Mac. That was interesting to see. I liked the photo of him and Claire. It's clearly like a prison photo where they have like this backdrop that's supposed to look like it's in a house or something, right? But it's clearly in a prison. I mean, it reminded me of. For our viewers, it reminded me of this photo I've got here of the where is it of McCoy and his where is it? Oh, do I not? How come this is a common occurrence? Tina Mucklow said that Cooper put on his parachute like it was a common occurrence, and it's a common occurrence for me to say I've got something and then not have it, but. And never mind. Anyway, there's a photo of McCoy and his kids in prison before he broke out and was killed. And it's got that same like prison background for, visitation photos. But yeah, I like seeing young Claire, which is cool. But I liked the there was a clever use you did to show the passage of time by having the photos of the presidents.
Yeah.
Change. I
Thank
like
you.
that.
Thank you for noticing that.
Yes.
That means a lot to me. I was like, how do we get do different?
I like that because it goes from like Clinton and then it's an Obama.
Yeah.
And it is wild. Yeah. And like so much has been cut. Like you said, I'm glad that they got the thing about, I'm glad that you got the thing about, crap. I just brain farted. Oh, one thing I was going to say, the ending was very, almost tender to see Mac, skydive again. I looked over and Olivia's crying and I'm like, oh. At the end. Yeah. I think a lot of folks really like the ending because Mac is really, he served, the guy served his time. And my God, how can you, I remember Larry Carr. I remember some people were like, oh, what's Larry Carr? Like Larry Carr, who, is the main Cooper case agent of the past 20 years. Well, he was at CooperCon 2 years ago and he met Mac and they were talking and hanging out and like, they're like, oh, what's Larry going to think about Mac? I'm like, look, Larry's been around his share of criminals, he's an FBI agent and he knows the good ones and the bad ones. And he knows the guy who spent 37 years in prison it's pretty harmless, and
it's funny when law enforcement gets around criminals too, especially criminals who've served their time because it's almost like old hat in the same business, they're just on opposite sides of it, Yeah,
like, absolutely.
The law enforcement's out of a job without the criminals, if you think about it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And one thing about Mac too, I always tell this story about Mac. We were at CooperCon 2 years ago and Bill Mitchell, who I'm not sure if you met, did you meet Bill at CooperCon? He's the guy that sat next to Cooper.
I have met Bill. Yeah, I met Bill Mitchell.
Yeah. So Bill goes up to Mac, and I think I do have this. Actually, there's a photograph, and I do have this one. I'm pretty sure. But there's a photograph of Bill talking to Mac that I've got here, and thank you to Nicole Legg for sneaking this photo of them. But Bill walks up to Mac and says, he goes, can I talk to you? Or he says, can I talk about you on stage in a second? And Mac's like, sure. And Bill got really emotional because Bill is not a guy who thinks Cooper was a victimless crime, because, especially now, at CooperCon this year, Bill started like tears coming down his eyes when he started talking about he started naming his grandkids. And the reason he did that is because he's like, if that bomb had been real, and Cooper was a bigger asshole, I could have died, and my children never would have existed, and my grandkids, all these names never would have existed. And so this was a scary thing. He says the older he's gotten, he says the older he's gotten, the more it bothers him because he's like, geez, what all these people, my grandkids, my kids could have been just snuffed out, But he mentioned Mac with tears, and he goes, and my kids, my grandkids, and he goes, and Mac's sitting right here, Mac's life, he spent 38 years of his life in prison for Cooper. And Mac says something like, Mac goes, well, if it wasn't that, it would have been something else. It's like, Mac knows how to make everybody laugh,
He's got great timing. Really
does. He's got a great timing. He's got a great infectious laugh. And Nikki was saying he's sad that you guys left out. I don't know how you could have fit this in there, but the fact that he shit in his parachute.
No, I remember. I remember talking to somebody after the film, and them mentioning that, and yeah, we considered it, but it was also one of those things where it was like, well, what's going to slow the pace down, and then what are we going to see, and everything like that,
Yeah, I just love the fact that Mac was angry that it was never mentioned in trial. He was like, they never mentioned it.
Well, we'll save that. We're going to save that for the television series and the film. I also want to say too, just before I have to go, that CooperCon was an absolute blast, and
Thanks.
You guys put on a fucking great show, and everybody there was so awesome and welcoming, and just the diverse crew, man. It was awesome. It was very, very impressive. Like really, really a memorable experience, and I look forward to coming back someday.
Well, I hope you do, and that's why that's why we love it so much. It's just great to see people from all across the world even come in and just dork out over this thing. So, where all those interviews that you filmed, what are those going to be on?
At CooperCon?
Yeah, the ones that you filmed of us talking. What is that for?
I think we're going to do it as like sort of a social sort of short doc in the next few months. See, the strategy here is to keep people interested in the film, because we're trying to sell it online and get people to go see it. It'll ultimately go on to like Tubi and some sort of advertiser-based service. But once we do that, then nobody's going to buy it. So we want to, and even when it is on there, we want to keep people interested. So we're going to cut together a couple shorts off of the interviews that we did. We might be doing a bonus podcast episode focused on CooperCon itself and just sort of show the world and everybody that's in it, And then, as I said, I'll send you all the footage and everything like that for you to check out, and you guys decide what you want to do with it for promotional stuff. But we're happy to contribute to everything.
Well, yeah. So everybody out there, seriously, it is worth your cup of coffee cost to rent this movie and watch it. And because it's a different kind of docudrama. Like I liked that it was formatted different than other docudramas in a way.
We had to do something to stand out, like make it the action doc, show faces. Also, one of the most remarkable, without all that, it's one of the most remarkable stories ever as far as true crime goes, and it's also somewhat victimless at the end of the day. So you can rest easy with that, and beyond watching it too, for those of you who've already seen it too, if you wouldn't mind, go to Rotten Tomatoes, write us a review, IMDb, write us a review, be honest about it, obviously, but like, we just want more reviews. We want more people giving feedback about it. That's why we do this.
Homework for all of you out there. Ron Ravancic, who was our new Tina Bar hydrologist PhD, says the story told in the movie is so wild I wouldn't believe it if it wasn't true, which is damn right. I mean, it really is like, as I tell people, it's actually in my book. I have a whole chapter kind of about Mac in my DB Cooper book in a way where I'm just like, look, this is why this DB Cooper case might never be solved, because I could live if Mac had I'll end with this. If Mac had gotten away, the Robert Wilson hijacking would be the subject of, not DB Cooper, because it's way more interesting. If he had gotten away. And we'd never, I could have spent 1,000 lifetimes Cooper sleuthing or Wilson sleuthing and never come across Martin McNally from Wyandotte, Michigan. Like, never. Totally. And it was very eye-opening for me.
If his friends hadn't flipped on him, there was probably a chance he could have done it too,
Yeah. Mac's a social creature, and he didn't need friends, and that was his undoing. And that's why I do think Cooper acted alone, because only one person can keep a secret, and so
absolutely. I mean, that was probably why Cooper, if he did get away with it, got away with it, because he was the only one who knew, or the other people who knew were taken out later. But
it's tough, but anyway, all right. Well, this Eli is gone now, and thank you for joining me, Eli.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for having me, Ryan.
You're welcome, bud. All right, take off. All right, bye.
Bye.
Okay, folks. So I'm back. It's me, Ryan. Okay, and I'm gonna be joined here shortly by, I believe, Mr. Chris Cunningham and Nikki Broughton, and we're going to talk about this Cooper tape. The Cooper tapes. So whenever they, the Rodney Bonifield movie, good God. I Am DB Cooper. Yes, that one is, that's some dog shit. That's some big dog shit. By the way, Ron Ravancic in the chat. Ron, I need you to come on my show. Will you come on my show? I don't know, sometime this month or next month. We need some Tina Bar discussion, some more Tina Bar discussion, even though I say no habla inglés whenever Tina Bar comes up, but you definitely habla inglés to Tina Bar stuff. So Ron, if you're out there, yes, good. Ron says, let's do a show. Perfect. Thank you. Because it definitely needs it. They need to release the cockpit voice recorder. Well, the problem with that is the cockpit voice recorder back in those days recycled every 30 minutes. So, because obviously if your plane crashes, it doesn't matter if it's my son David. It's like, it doesn't matter if doesn't matter how far back you go. As long as you're 30 minutes back, if your plane crashes, that's all you need. So yeah, 30 minutes. So the only thing cockpit voice recorder would have had is them landing in Reno, which doesn't seem to matter much. Although I guess the only thing that'll be nice to hear is Scott and them begging Cooper to raise the stairs. Sir, raise the stairs. Hey, sir. Trying to my William Scott impression. Hey, sir. You raise the stairs back there, eh? Because he's from North Dakota. Raise the stairs. All right. So I'm waiting on Nikki and Chris. Just gonna shoot the shit. Did the FBI ever investigate how DB Cooper arrived at the airport? Was he dropped off? Or did he take a taxi or a bus? Did anyone notice him before he purchased his one-way ticket? No. Cooper basically just springs from the earth at PDX. He walks in, and that's pretty much it. They interviewed cab drivers, bus drivers, rental car agencies. They garage attendants, because maybe Cooper got back to his, because remember, they didn't know where he jumped for 40 hours. So Cooper could have parked his car at the airport and made it back to the airport, got in his car and driven off if he had parked it in like a temporary parking lot or whatever, right? Oh, good question here. And I have a great answer for you. He's asking how much of the money could fit in there. Well, I mean, you do have the number one Cooper sleuth in the world as your host. And I do check on things like this. And so I did my own experiment. I unloaded my T7 reserve pack back there, and I stuffed money in it because I wanted to see how much I could fit in there if you had emptied it out. And here we go. Here are the photographs. Looks like I was able to fit. What is that? $80,000. Well, I wish. $80,000 in there. Oh, there's Nikki B. Hello, sir. Speak. Speak, Spot. You're on the air.
I'm on there. Hold on. There's a little bit of a delay here.
I was able to fit about $80,000 in there. I wish it was $80,000. And it was able to close up
okay, we're good.
Enough for me to do that. But I don't think, like I said, we have the revelation now that Cooper jumps with the front chute, which pisses me off because I now have to like this guy, I have to go change him to put on a freaking front chute on him. Like all my animations are ruined. Fortunately, I have not released my part 3 of the Cooper hijacking narrative on YouTube yet. So I'll be able to go fix him for that. Or there we go, like this, him waving. He needs to have a front chute. Now we know he had a front chute, which changes everything. But I don't think that he put money in it because, again, he spent so much time MacGyvering that money bag there, and Tina watched him do it. And so he really had, and there's plenty of room in that bag. You don't need to put it in you don't need to empty. There's no need to put some in some and some in the other. So yes, what cost historical accuracy? Indeed. Do you think there's any chance that they found all the money and for one reason or another decided not to turn it over? You mean Ingrams found all the money? Is that what you're saying? Because that's no.
That doesn't make. I mean, they tried so hard to clean up and salvage the money that they got. It doesn't make sense. If they had more money, they weren't very wealthy people, so they would have definitely tried to turn that in as well.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And as Ron says, the money was ruined and couldn't be spent. If they found it at all, why not turn it in? Yeah. Although Slim had Slim called the bank and said, "Hey, how much?" This is before he called the FBI. Slim, that's Brian's dad, and said, "Hey, I found some money. What does it need to be redeemed?" They said a legible serial number. A legible serial number is what they needed. And so, but so Ron is saying that he thinks that Cooper had an accomplice who dropped him off at the airport. Gosh, isn't that Nikki? Where are you these days with accomplice?
The accomplice is a double-edged sword, right? In one way, it makes sense. Kind of, how was he able to get out of there and seemingly probably extract all of his items from the drop zone, right? Because we haven't found any a parachute. We haven't found any trace of him under the landing zone, either the FBI or even the more kind of current drop zone that's now back to the FBI drop zone. But nowhere around has any trace of him ever been found. So in one way, that accomplice kind of makes sense in that, right? But then, what we were talking about with Eli, what Maxon doing was, which was, he was a social guy. He ran with other criminals and stuff, and loose lips and shits, and that's what did Mac in. So it kind of helps in the aspect of how did he get out of there and get all of his stuff out of there. Accomplice seems like that would be more feasible. But then as far as how has he remained elusive for 55 years now, that the accomplice doesn't really compute. But there could be kind of a middle ground where there might have been a caveat.
Unwitting accomplice.
There might have been an accomplice, but it was an accomplice that was very close, either a wife, or somebody that relied, somebody that he provided for, that they relied on him and they couldn't afford him going to
family. Jail. I would think family. Yeah, a brother, perhaps.
Any looser kind of accomplice, like how Mac had it, just some criminal partners. Yeah. Nah, that would have done him in. So if there was an accomplice, I think it had to have been someone that was very close to Cooper, either a wife, a brother, maybe even a younger, an older child if he had kids that were maybe already kind of in college or whatever, right? Yeah.
Well, I think about and that's one reason why I don't like people may be surprised that I don't hate LD Cooper. People may I don't hate LD Cooper as a suspect, Hey Nikki, I'm getting feedback on you should put some headphones in if you have some, maybe.
No, we should be good. I just pulled up on my phone so I can see the chat, but I just muted it.
Okay, good. Yeah. So, I don't hate LD Cooper as a suspect. I don't believe he's Cooper, but I don't hate LD Cooper. And I actually kind of like, one reason I like the idea of a brother as an accomplice, because brothers are not gonna, unless you're the Unabomber's brother. Now the Unabomber was killing people. It's a little different, right? I mean, if your brother's a thief, I don't know if I'm turning my brother in, to be honest with you. But if my brother's killing people, then I probably would. But that's why I don't dislike the idea. I don't dislike the idea of a brother being accomplice. But at the end of the day, if Cooper was a guy like Ted Braden, or like he whose name cannot be spoken at the current time, the new suspect, I don't think it. I think he would have viewed it as like a challenge almost to land. I mean, these are guys who jumped into enemy territory in World War II and stuff. They're not worried about Southern Washington causing them trouble.
No, I'd agree. I mean, guys that have that kind of experience, they probably would have tended to just rely. They've done it before. They can just rely on themselves. I don't think they really feel the need to.
Yeah, I mean,
have an accomplice.
As people are saying in the chat, really I don't know, Ron, if a walkie-talkie would. I don't think a walkie-talkie would go that far. The problem is Cooper had. I think the most logical thing that Cooper would have done is just tell the accomplice, go wait at the safe house, go wait at the hotel or whatever, and I will get to it. I don't know where I'm going to jump. I don't know when I'm going to be jumping, because who knows? Who knows how long it's going to take to get the money and the refueling, whatever. I mean, I don't know when, I don't know where exactly. So I will get to a phone at some point and let you know where I am. Just sit, just don't do anything ridiculous, So I don't think there's enough range in a walkie-talkie to do that, considering Cooper had no idea again, if you listen to the audio we've got, it's very clear that they didn't know what route they were going to fly. That was a point of contention. So, and Cooper is not in the back saying, fly this route, So that is one thing the FBI are very clear about in the FBI files is Cooper did not know where the hell he was. Because how could he have?
And before, where we kind of speculated like he might have had some say in the flight path by rejecting certain airports.
Right.
Now from the audio, it seems like Cooper rejected no airports.
Right.
It was Northwest that nixed them.
Because they couldn't reach them. Yeah, because they couldn't reach them.
Because we saw how concerned they were about the range, because they had no idea. They'd never done this before. So they were still trying to calculate the range on the fly to see if they were going to be good. So they didn't want to take any unnecessary. They wanted to play it safe, because not knowing exactly how the range was going to work out. So now that we know that, it's like, I still think Cooper probably, could have had a compass, and that could have let him know if they decided to deviate from the flight path they probably were going to take. But that's about it. I know they've been throwing around the idea of Cooper having some kind of a VOR receiver. So because I refuse, I just don't think Cooper just did not have a plan for where he was gonna land. I truly think if he was just gonna wing it, he would have been caught. In my opinion. Now he could have just gotten lucky. He had the head start, the first one to ever do it. But I think I don't think he planned. I don't think Cooper, being his age and everything, just didn't have a half-baked plan. I think he had some contingencies there. It never got to that point because they ended up complying with his directions. Possibly another reason why he said, I wanted the gear down. Right, a lot of pilot stuff like, why does he want the gear down? That doesn't really make any sense. But it could have just been because when the gear goes down, you can actually hear the gear go down. Right, that would have been one of his demands that would have actually been able to verify just by listening. So if he heard him put the gear down, he can safely assume, okay, they're probably complying with all of my instructions here.
Yeah, well, again, you can't fly a certain speed. I mean, the gear will actually tear off if you're going 300 something miles an hour.
It also limit the speed, but it would also you'd be able to hear the gear coming down, and you'd be able to know, okay, they put the gear down, they followed that instruction. They're probably they're probably going to comply with all the rest.
Well, yeah, because it is like, remember though, Soderlund in the audio we have, right, is saying he's not going to be able to tell if the flaps are at 5 or 15. It's too dark outside the windows. So it's your call. It is funny how in that audio, for those, we can talk about the audio a lot. That's kind of why I had you on. One of the things that was interesting about the audio was how tricksy Paul Soderlund was being many times.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, why don't you fly a little higher and knock them out? Why don't you get your flaps at 5 instead of 15? And he was being kind of cavalier almost. And they shot him down. They were like, look, man, we're the ones. There we go. Christopher. Hello, Christopher. You there, bud? Can you hear us? Oh, you're muted. We can't hear you.
No, I'm just kidding. I was just mouthing the words. I was here the whole time.
Jerk. That was jerk. Yeah, we're just talking about how Soderlund was surprisingly cavalier. Did that surprise you? I'm just saying how Soderlund was surprisingly cavalier, being like, he was being tricksy. He was like, he was telling them, why don't you fly a little higher and make them get hypoxia? Why don't you put the flaps at 5 and not 15? Because he can't tell the difference. Like, he was being kind of, and they didn't follow any of those instructions. They were like, no dude, we're just going to do it. We were playing it safe. The bomb, quote, bomb is on our plane, not yours, Paul. So,
well, in Soderlund's defense too, he, basically left it up to their discretion, kind of like, I'm not telling you guys what to do, but, so, it wasn't like he was telling them to do that. It was more of a suggestion.
Yeah.
Would you not agree?
Yeah, it was a suggestion that if they wanted to knock him out, they could do that. Right. I like that. I like what Tim, it is past your bedtime, sir. Tim says, it's like the brown M&M's request. There's much more to the reason for asking for certain things. Yeah. For those who don't know that story. Yeah. That's, was it Van Halen or somebody who said they only wanted brown M&Ms in like their dressing room. And the reason they did that is because they wanted to make sure that the people who were the concert promoters were following all of their requests and actually read the writer, which is pretty interesting. Somebody's saying, let's see. Cooper had a 40-hour.
What's up, Chris? How are you?
What's up, bud? Haven't seen you in a while.
I know, man. Nice to be on with you.
I know. We talk all the time, but I hardly ever see your face in real life.
I know, brother. It's good.
I like that. I like that jacket. That's a Northwest Airlines.
Yeah. So I thought this would be pretty fitting. So Packer actually gave this to me a little gift at CooperCon. He gave me a Northwest Orient ground crew work shirt.
Hell yeah!
I thought it'd be pretty cool to wear since we're talking about the audio, which you hear a lot of the communications with ground and stuff like that. So
yeah, perfect. Love it.
No.
I like what Jen says here. She says Cooper jumped there because he didn't want to miss the wedding in La Center. That's funny. Yeah, his favorite. What was the name of the psychologist who thought Cooper was going to blow the plane up? Don't know who that guy was, but I think in the transcripts it says an FAA psychiatrist. I think, isn't that right, Chris? I think it says an FAA psychiatrist says that. I think in the transcript it says he says the guy's going to jump and then blow the plane up on his way out. And
yeah, it was.
I think the response is you found
it was actually the FAA chief psychologist. I'm sorry. Let me be accurate. The FAA chief psychiatrist,
right,
told them that it was felt that the second parachute was for the stewardess, and Cooper would blow up the plane after he leaves.
And I think they just respond like Roger or something. They just like acknowledge it.
I don't even think they
responded. Yeah,
they responded.
Yeah, but it's interesting though. Well, let me just ask you this, Chris. So, I've worked with Nikki a lot on these tapes.
Yeah.
What is your just give us your stump speech about what are your thoughts on hearing these tapes after all these years?
Well, I think I've stated on some of the Facebook groups that, and I've apologized to Nikki for this, is that I was I poo-pooed him a little bit, the clips that he shared. I was like, those were already in the transcript. This is nothing new. It's not going to be anything revelatory. Cool find, but not a big deal. And, when I first listened to them, it was, I was taken aback for, a few different reasons. So, foremost among them is that if you're just listening to these and you're just a casual listener, you might think, this is just communications between the crew and air traffic control or whoever. But when you kind of go into the weeds a little bit, you find out that this is actually two different frequencies that have been recorded and then have been spliced together. So obviously, and I've talked about this before, is that the crew was talking to several different entities during the course of their flight. And in this particular time frame, which we can narrow down, which I've narrowed down to between 7:22 and 7:48 p.m. During that time, they were talking to Seattle Tower on one frequency, and then on a separate frequency, they were talking to Northwest Airlines, particularly Paul Soderlund, director of Northwest Flight Operations. And those two conversations, apparently, by all accounts, both of those conversations were recorded simultaneously and then was later spliced together. And that's really interesting to me. Number one, because we're talking 1971, so it wasn't an easy task to record two frequencies on the same, at the same time using a ham radio or other type of audio equipment, and then to later splice that together. That takes equipment, it takes skill. It wasn't, something that we could do. Obviously today we've got all this technology. It's a little easier for us to do. In 1971, that was a sort of a daunting task, not impossible, but daunting. And then when you really stop to think about it, how would the person who's recording these know in the moment that these are important conversations that are being had? You put yourself in that moment. How do you know that, hey, I should record these two frequencies because they are going to be incredibly important later on down the line? It could have just been luck. Hey, I heard there's a hijacking going on. Let me tap into the frequencies in the area. Well, maybe, the conversation between the plane and the tower are important. But then the NWA frequency where they were talking to Soderlund, how would anybody know to record that? How would a civilian, for lack of a better word, or a casual ham radio operator know to record that particular frequency? I don't have an answer for that. And I truly don't know. So maybe it was luck. Maybe the tapes, and obviously Nikki would know more about the origins of the tapes.
No, he doesn't. I don't think any of us do.
Yeah. And I mean, that's really kind of why I said, Ryan, we should, sorry, I'll touch a bronchitis, so I might break out in a coughing fit. But that's kind of why I said, hey, we should jump on here and talk about this. Not because, hey, we're going to stand up here and tell you all the wonderful things that we know. I don't know. So if anybody's got any insight into this or can put some pieces together, that would be great, because frankly, I'm at a loss. My original thought was, well, this had to be the FBI, that these tapes were acquired from the FBI, because who else would have access to both FAA recordings and Northwest Airlines private recordings? What entity would have access to both of those? So it would seem likely that the FBI would do it. However, Nikki's indicated that the source of these tapes really didn't have anything to do with the FBI. But again, he can speak on that better than I could.
Yeah, there's no connection to the FBI. So that's where I'm kind of struggling to think that's where she got it from. She did work for Northwest Orient Airlines in Detroit. So my current speculation is maybe she had a relationship with this person at Northwest that did the splicing, that was tasked to do this. And this individual, she says she promised this person that she would never reveal his name,
which is weird, because it's not. I mean, I guess maybe obviously it is still not illegal, people. By the way, it is still not illegal to record FAA transmissions. You can do this
at all.
So, I mean,
and I don't know if the reason why she brought that up, but I don't know if the reason why she promised them that she would never say, who she got them from, was because he was concerned about that legality, or for another reason.
So in your conversations with her, did she even indicate how these were recorded? Were they recorded on ham radio? Were they just tapes that he had that he gave to her? What was the backstory on all of that?
So what I've gotten is she mentioned he was this individual was tapping into the frequencies. That's why she asked if, I know that might be illegal or something like that. So she said this person tapped into the frequencies. That's kind of the only thing that still has me a little bit in the some kind of sophisticated ham radio camp. And it just happened to be someone that did this a lot. And I guess like you said, how would they know to go to Northwest Orient? But maybe this person just did it as a hobby, and they tracked these. They knew all the different frequencies for all the different airlines. And he had a nice control room, sophisticated equipment, and for whatever reason, there's a hijacking going on. I better get everything. I can't.
I don't think so. It just seems. I just don't think
it
so.
also seems like a stretch. But again, the whole, if it was someone that was splicing it together, then why did she say this person was tapping into the frequencies?
Wait. I missed that. So she did say this person was tapping into the frequency. Okay.
Yeah, this person was tapping into the frequencies, recorded it, and then from this individual, she got a tape of pretty much, she said 90 minutes each side, the original tape she got from this individual. So I'm assuming this was pretty much the entire recording, everything he got. He recorded it and then sent it to her. Yeah.
That's
so when did this person receive the tapes? Do you have any idea? Was it shortly after the hijacking? Was it in the 80s, the 90s? Was it recently?
That I don't know. I don't know when she got the tapes. From talking to her, it seems like she's had them for a while. She's talking about she played them a lot of times, and she was concerned that she was going to wear out the tape. So I'm thinking this is something she's had for a good while. I don't know exact dates, how long she's had it or anything.
So I mentioned it before. I went through the recording. I went through the audio. I went through the transcripts. I went through the timeline, and it seems as if this particular audio records conversations that were had between 7:22 p.m. and 7:48. Correct?
No. We go way early.
I very so.
First. Oh, I know we do. The very first part of it is the first fuel truck. Like, because they're asking how much you have on, he goes about 3,000, which is what the first fuel truck. And he's talking about get those passengers away from here. The passengers are unloaded at 5:55, and they're driven by bus at like 6:20.
So I'm thinking
it's like at 6 something.
Is it? See, I thought that the first recording, and I'll have to go back and listen to it. The first recording is how they're almost topped off and they have about 5,000 pounds remaining to be pumped.
No. It says how much fuel do you have? How much fuel do you have now? He goes about 3,000. And he's bitching about we need a second and third fuel truck. So like that first part is the passengers are still. The passengers at this point they're still by Al Lee's car, because he's like, remember, Rat's bitching going, there's no reason for them to be standing there. They're too close. So like the passengers are right there. So, I mean, I think this starts at like 6:15 or something.
Yeah. In that case, there is a section between 7:22 and 7:48 that seems pretty uninterrupted.
Yeah. There's a long section.
They start, I think, like I said, starts off with talking about the fuel ranges. You're going to have to do legs or jumps of 5,000, whatever miles. Talks about Yuma. So, that starts off at 7:22, and that continues pretty much uninterrupted until 7:48 when they're talking about Red Bluff and Medford and, that sort of stuff.
Well, let me see when Al – I'm trying to see when Al Lee says that's stupid. Let this parachutist go. Because we have that clip of Al Lee. Okay, so the "let the son of a bitch go" line is, I'm looking at where we are when that happens. And Al, right before that, they're talking about, is the guy going to let those girls go? So when that happens, Flo and Alice are still on board. Now, Flo and Alice don't leave until like 6:40, but that doesn't really help at all. But I'm just looking to see.
Well, 6:21, they talk about the girls are not off yet.
Okay.
Yeah, and then 6:35, the two girls are released.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at your timeline as well. For those who want to follow along, norjack.org timeline.
Well, I have my own communications timeline too. That's a little more specific.
Oh, can you send that to me, Chris?
Yeah, of course, buddy.
Thanks.
I'm looking. Well, no. Well, okay. How about this? 6:18. We've got, or about 6:15, 6:18. Okay, so it says here 6:15. Passengers begin walking across the runway away from the airliner. That's in the lower.
Correct.
So it says pilot instructs to move passengers away from the aircraft. At 6:07, that's in the Lowenthal notes. So we have that audio of Rat saying that. Get them away from here.
Yep.
So that's 6:07. So, yeah, we've got 6:07 audio.
Mm-hmm.
So if Nikki's saying there's 3 hours of audio, so like, and the last thing you said is probably like 7:48. The last thing we have is Tina describing Cooper about to jump, right? So, and that's
he's got the
bag
tied around him and two parachutes.
Yeah, that is okay. That's 7:52. It says on your timeline.
Yeah, Stu says he has knapsack on, planning to jump. Thinks he's going to leave at any time.
So we've got 6. I mean, so look, the bottom line is, we're gonna, if we could ever get this full audio, we're gonna have the frickin' pressure bump.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was my next question for Nikki, and I think it's the question he's probably been asked 10 million times since CooperCon, is what is the status of any further releases, any further tapes? Is there any hope that we can acquire any more audio? What is the status of that?
Yes. So the original tape that she got from this individual, that's got 90 minutes each side, that tape does nothing. When she plays it, nothing comes out anymore. And about 4 years ago, when she originally sent me these snippets, that's when she told me, around that time is when she was afraid that because she's been playing it so many times that she was going to wear it out. So she recorded segments from that tape, just kind of to have as a backup in case that tape stopped playing. Which, good thing she did, because that's what ended up happening. And what we got, the 40 minutes or whatever that we got, was of the segment she recorded off that original tape.
So
she still has that original tape. So then what I'm going to be working on next year is getting that tape, and then getting it in the hands of professional restorers. At CooperCon, we had Stephanie Farmar there, and she's connected with the archive at UC Berkeley. And she just messaged us, I think last week. She said, if we get the tape, she let us know, who she knows there and what can be done. And it seems very promising that they'll be able to get the audio off there. So the next step here is to get that tape, get it in their hands, and hopefully they can work their magic, and we could get that 180 minutes or so of audio.
Well, yeah, and from win to win, and all I know is if it starts at 6, I mean, one thing we know we're missing. I mean, we're definitely missing Cooper bitching about the stairs not coming down, because that happens before the stuff about him wearing his parachute or whatever, whatever. So we know we're missing that. I'd like to hear that.
I guess I don't understand, and this just comes down to not knowing the configuration of the tapes. But if things were recorded in sequence, why do we not have the I can't get the stairs down audio, but we have things before and after that?
Because she's just randomly jumping around.
She was just randomly recording segments from her tape.
Gotcha.
So everything, the original tape she has that doesn't play, everything is sequenced in there, I'm assuming. And she was just randomly recording pieces from that tape.
So I guess my next question is, and I probably on everybody's mind, is why the cloak and dagger with these tapes? Why is she so hesitant to just want to turn these over? I mean, certainly you've built trust with her, I don't think she's in it. Ryan's made it clear she's not in any legal danger. So why is she? Why doesn't she just box them up and mail them to you?
Yep, great question. I was originally supposed to go out a couple months ago to Seattle and actually get the tape physically. Something came up and she canceled on me. But that's when when Radachak passed away. I think that really motivated her because she listened to it so many times. She told me that she felt like she knew Bill from how many times she listened to the tapes, and she wanted to get it out there for his memory, for his heirs to be able to listen to and stuff like that.
And I'll jump in here too real quick and play. So this is kind of what the audio sounded like before I kind of got to restore it. Let me just see if this will play for a second. Let me see if I can pull this up. Let's see if this will load. Sorry, folks. Is it not? Okay, where am I frozen? Okay, wait a second. Why is that not page unresponsive? Wait. Okay, that's not working. Okay, hopefully that didn't kill the stream. Okay, I guess we're still streaming. Okay, well, I guess I tried to play some of the audio there, but it didn't work. That's lame. Okay, well,
for us. Wait, it was rough.
Yeah, page is unresponsive. Okay, just wait then. I don't care. I hope that didn't kill the stream. Anyway,
so Ryan and to a lesser extent Nikki, I know you guys have dealt with criticism, or there goes our host. Criticisms or suggestions or hints or whatever, accusations that the tapes are fake, they're hoaxed, they're AI, they're manipulated, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, obviously I don't believe that in any way, shape, or form, but how do you respond to people who are saying that this is BS?
Hello, can you hear me?
I mean, yeah, we can hear you.
And now,
okay, good.
Yeah, I've seen video of her recording the tape playing on a tape recorder and the sound coming out. And this is a person in their 80s, so they don't have the technological savvy to hoax us. So I clearly see a video. I clearly see the tape playing. I clearly see the audio coming out of the speakers, and you can tell Bill Radachak's voice from anywhere. If you've listened to his Northwest Orient Museum interview where he talks like for over an hour, I've listened to that maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
Right? And you get a real good feel for his cadence.
Yeah, for anybody to question whether this is Bill Radachak.
Yeah, in this day and age, I totally understand. And Ryan's made the point that, if we were going to hoax this, we would make it a lot more interesting. We'd spice it up a lot more. It wouldn't just be some of this mundane crap that's in there.
Technobabble.
Yeah. So, when you really think about it and you got visual evidence, I understand, in this day and age why people people want to jump on that and, throw out there,
it's like if you listen, it's like if you want to hear what AI audio sounds like of Bill Radachak and them, go watch my videos where I do the narrative and I have Scott and them talking. That's AI, Radachak, and Scott. This is the real people. And for people Like there is a researcher that I respect right now who is literally spending an enormous amount of effort doing voice recognition software on this. And I'm like, my God, you wrote a book on this case. How do you not know Bill Radachek's voice? I mean, honest to God, like, did you not listen to his 3-hour discussion at Northwest Airlines 5 different times like the rest of us have? Have you not watched every documentary? How do you not know Bill Radachek's voice? Like, and then this individual is like, well, that Paul Soderlund guy sounds like a Southerner. I'm like, what? Paul Soderlund sounds like he's trying to sell some True Coat in Fargo. Hey, you want that True Coat on the vehicle? Like Paul Soderlund is the most Minnesota Yinzer accent or whatever. Like that's clearly Paul Soderlund.
Yeah, and Paul, I don't think there's any audio of him out there. Like I don't think he did an interview.
We don't need audio of him out there to know that's Paul Soderlund. For one thing, they're calling him
but
Paul.
there's nothing even out there we could have fed to AI to like know be able to like replicate his voice.
And it's a good point. They refer to him as Paul, and I think there are portions of the audio in which Radachek in later interviews attributes to himself as saying, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I think the idea that this is a hoax or fake, or that you guys are having, that we're having the wool pulled over our eyes is bonkers. So well, it's frankly I mean, these tapes are incredibly important. And, I mean, Ryan, Nikki, we've had conversations. I've told you that, that the actual, I mean, we have the teletype of conversations between the crew and Soderlund, NWA, but the actual audio recording of that, or even the full transcript, the written transcript of that, is the holy grail of this case. I mean, in my opinion,
it is.
Other than the DNA, obviously, but the hair slides. But if we could get the transcript of that conversation between the crew and Minneapolis, or the audio of that, I mean,
well, Chris, I remember for a while,
it would be the happiest I would ever have been since the Hurricanes made the college football playoffs.
Well, listen, I'll say that. Yeah, I remember. You and I went back and forth a little bit on it. You poo-pooed the tapes a little bit because you figured it was just what we have in the transcripts, right?
I did, and it was a
which
mistake.
Makes sense, And I was like, well, at least maybe it will give us some. At least it could provide some inflection, because obviously the written word, that was my thought. I'm like, well, the tapes are going to be valuable, even if it is the transcripts, because we're going to at least hear their inflection and their attitude. And yeah, there is attitude in there. Like, I mean, you hear that great part about Radachek saying, I hope that thing is full. He's like bitching at him, like that thing better be full. Or I think the audio clearly now we can clearly hear Radachek saying, "Damn it." I mean, I think that's undeniable. He says, "Damn it," and it makes sense in the context of his attitude. He's pissy because when we were reading it, we're like, well, maybe he doesn't say "damn it," but no, when the context, he's pissed. And even there's that part about Rat saying, "Don't worry about the girls, just get over here and start pumping gas." Like, what are you doing? It's the high drama of everything is, oh yeah. Also, yeah, I like Packer says the tapes also confirm that Rat had no optics behind the cockpit with his use of knapsack and also requesting the meals when they were already on board. Which somebody asked when the meals were brought up. It was 6:48 according to Chris's timeline when the meals were, which was interesting because that means that Tina went out way later than I would have thought, because Tina's out there getting the parachutes and stuff at like 6 o'clock. So apparently she went back out there one final time at like 6:45 or so. After Flo and Alice are off, Tina goes out again, which is crazy because at that point she could have stayed out there. If Flo and Alice are off, then I mean Tina could have stayed off. And
yeah, it's also possible too that the crew meals were brought on board prior to that, and that they were just confirming that they were on.
I think that's probably more likely. But one thing I find interesting is that Al Lee is missing because you can hear them talking to Al Lee, and he's talking back to them. Like the part about Rat saying, the meals are on board, and it's Al saying, yeah, and and him saying, who brought them on board? Al probably says the girl or something, and we don't hear that, but we do hear Al Lee talking about, get the girl and get the son of a bitch out of there. So it's interesting because Al Lee is on. I've never understood. He had a portable. He must have had a.
I was going to say radio. He had a walkie-talkie. They mentioned walkie-talkies in the communications. I think it's in the air traffic control transcript, but I believe he had a walkie-talkie of some sort, and that's how he was communicating. Well,
remember there is a mystery that, and I have and on occasion, people, I will Flyjack and I will work out things privately, as much contention as there always has been. Flyjack and I are always very amicable on emails, and Flyjack and I have emailed back and forth quite a bit, trying to figure out. There is a part in the transcript where they mention a radio being brought on board.
Yes,
and we have never been able to understand that, what that is, who requested that. My thought is that we know that the fuel truck drivers had a portable, like a walkie-talkie thing. And it makes me wonder if that was to communicate with them, perhaps, or because I don't know, but there is a mention of a radio being brought on board by Tina in 2 different times. And I can't find any other reference to it. And I don't know who brought it. I mean, why it was brought on board, what it was. Because apparently they didn't need that to talk to Al, because Al was hooked up to it's weird. Al must have been frequency hopping too, back and forth, because I think we have Al.
Well, you have to remember too that Al was not stationary. Al was moving. Al was flight dispatch. So he was going to be, inside the terminal, and then he's going to be down below retrieving the money and dealing with the FBI and Bill Grinnell and all of that stuff. And then he's going to be coordinating with the pilots and then driving out. So, I mean, he was moving around. So it would not surprise me if he was communicating on a walkie-talkie system somehow. And I'm not familiar with how that might work,
yeah.
But I mean, he was in a lot of different places, but always seemed to be communicating with the crew. So, there had to be some system arranged where he was talking on a portable radio.
Yeah, I wish I could find that. I'm going through my documents. I'm trying to find where that is. I mean, somewhere, like I said, there is a part there somewhere where Tina is talking about this stupid radio, and I'm trying to find that.
Well, while you find that, Nikki, let me ask you. You mentioned next year and getting the tape. What is the timeline? What arrangements do you have? To get more audio. I think we're all anxious to hear more. What is the situation in the timeline in hearing potentially some more audio?
So I sent my source what we presented at CooperCon. The great video Ryan put together. She was very, very impressed. And we briefly discussed, talking next year and, working on getting the tape. I don't want, this type of person, you can't put, it took 4 years just to get to this point. Right. So I don't want to, crank up the pressure on her or anything like that. I decided to let it breathe for a little bit. Let us enjoy the holidays, and then next year we'll start, making some arrangements as far as getting that tape and getting it to the proper channels. So there's nothing planned out, nothing set in stone. As it's kind of been over these 4 years, it's just kind of touch and go, and we'll see what happens. But I think we've already we've broken through the barrier now, getting this this 40 minutes, and I think it should be a lot smoother sailing now. to get the rest of this. I'm just kind of just hanging back a little bit, waiting the holidays, waiting for the new year, and then we'll kind of go from there.
She's very it's just very this individual is very I don't know how else to explain it.
Eccentric?
No, just
not really eccentric, just
guarded.
Yeah, just
for
started,
whatever reason. I don't know why.
For whatever reasons, there's barriers there for whatever reasons, but I think we're slowly breaking them down here, and I'm optimistic that I'll be able to get that tape next year, and CooperCon 20 for the 55th anniversary. Hopefully we'll have.
Gotta be.
Yeah, and I think the main thing, because I asked her, I'm like, did you hear anything regarding the oscillations? And she said, yes, there's discussion about the oscillations. So the oscillation part is on there.
Well, Ryan's talked about this, Nikki. I think we've talked about it too. Is like the irony. It's like how much more vortexy can you get? The fact that we have actual audio of Flight 305 talking to Minneapolis, but we're just missing it, 10 minutes before? 15 minutes before. And then the person who actually has the tape
is difficult.
Is the person who is that particular person who has the tapes, who, from what I understand, is wonderful, sweet.
Yeah.
Don't need to impugn her in any way, shape, or form. But as Ryan pointed out, she's guarded, little cloak and dagger, little, whatever.
And she made a promise to somebody, and I can't get mad at someone for sticking true to their word.
Right, but instead of somebody finding these in a vacuum sealed bag in their attic and immediately being like, let me put this in a UPS right now for you. Of course, with this case, everything is, like pulling teeth.
Yeah, nothing gets handed to you on a silver platter in this case.
But look, Northwest, I mean, either Northwest or Paul Soderlund's estate has these tapes. At least the Northwest Communications side of it, you would think.
I mean, I've asked, and I know
Bruce Kitt says no. I know.
I've asked Bruce Kitt at the Northwest.
He's a try-harder.
I've asked him. I know Dr. Edwards has asked him. I want to say that Marty Andrade has as well looked into it, but they don't have. NWA doesn't have it. FBI doesn't have it. The only clue that there's even a transcript for this came out, and Ryan, obviously you're Mr. 305, so or 302. Pitbull's Mr. 305. I guess you could be both. Is I think in May or March of 1973 is where that little clip of the earpiece coming out, that little section of transcript. I mean, that's the only section, and that's the only clue we have that it was audio recorded, because you can't do a transcript that specific if it wasn't audio recorded and someone was listening to it. But where is that audio? Where is the full transcript? There has to be a full transcript somewhere. Where is it? The FBI presumably had it. In fact, I've asked Larry Carr, and he's like, "Yeah, I've seen it." And
we're gonna get it. I mean, it's good. I mean, at some point, it's gonna be released. It might be 2030 by the time it comes out. I mean, they're gonna scan everything, and so if it exists, and like, for example, I know that there's more pictures of the damn plane, because I've asked Larry. I'm like, we have the one picture of Cooper's seat. Well, we have two pictures of Cooper's seat. I'm like, are there more pictures? He goes, yeah, I've seen more pictures. There has to be. And he's like, I'm pretty sure I've seen more pictures of the crime scene, because it'd be cool to see the pic. I mean, I bet they took a picture of the tie sitting in the chair, probably. I'm guessing. I mean, because presumably, if they're doing their work. So by the way, here it is. So this is in Tina's 302 from that night. She says, the truck stairs came to the front door, and Tina left by way of the front door, went to a car carrying the money, chutes, food, maps, and radio for cockpit communications. So now, a radio for cockpit communications. Like, that would be like a walkie-talkie, must have been for somebody.
I mean, it's got to be portable, right?
Yeah, a portable thing, but like, wouldn't Cooper have been looking? I don't know. It just the only time anybody like did anything with the cockpit, as far as we know, is Harold Anderson leaving the cockpit to close the door before they take off. I mean, I'm pretty sure Cooper was looking down the aisle like a hawk at the cockpit because the guys could have just walked off the damn plane. He'd been screwed, right? So, I don't know if that radio was ever, but it's a weird thing, and it shows up like just there, and I don't know what that radio was for, but it must be describing a walkie-talkie. You know, I just don't know what that would have been. Let's see. Nice to see Nikki and put a face to the Facebook persona. There's Cotty saying that. It's a nice thing. So Nikki.
Thanks, Scotty. Appreciate your
Cotty's a sweetheart.
We're always very
Cotty's
yes.
Cotty's my second biggest fan. Let's see. Maybe it was intended for them to be able to communicate with Cooper easier than the telephone. I don't think so. I mean, it wasn't hard for Cooper to pick up the phone and call them. I mean, he did that. So I don't think that's what the radio would have been. My guess is that we know that there is a line in there about I know what it is. So maybe. So in the transcripts, there's a line about the fuel trucks having a portable radio. It says they have a radio. And there's even like a line there's somewhere in the transcripts where Bill says, does that truck have a radio? Something like that. So I don't know.
Communicate with the guys in the fuel truck?
I guess. Because we know that Rat yelled at them. You know, Rat says in his 2013 speech, he says that he yelled down at them, what in the what in the HE double hockey sticks is going on down there? So I remember I have that in my fake little AI thing. I've got Rat saying what in the hell is going on down there? So he was able to talk to them a little bit. And in the audio we have him saying Rat's complaining, like he says, I can't reach them. He's complaining because he can't talk to one of the fuel trucks. Like I can't reach him. So I don't know.
That makes sense. That's the only thing I've heard so far that makes sense on the radio.
So let's talk. Okay, so as far as the tapes go, I mean, the biggest takeaway, obviously, I mean, the game changer is the front parachute. I think that changes it. I mean, I don't know if it changes everything, but that's a big deal. That he took a dummy chute with him, and he would have had to have tied it to himself to do so. And it doesn't appear that he put any money in there. So what was his purpose for this? And the only thing that we have been able to come up with really is that he wanted to do the paratrooper trick or smoke jumper trick of, if you get hung up in a tree, you open your front chute, it falls down to the ground, you wiggle out of your harness and then rappel down the shroud lines. It's a safety net. Your front chute can work that way. And what's fascinating about that is that Mark Meltzer was taught that by Perry Stevens. It was a famous skydiver back then, who was a paratrooper in World War II. Now, Mark, when I sent Mark the audio, and Mark's like, "Oh my God, he jumped with the dummy chute tied to him." Mark was the one who said, "I bet he was using that as a safety measure to get out of trees." He says, I was taught to use my T7 reserve to do that. And Mark called several of his skydiving buddies who were in their 70s, like he is, and they had never heard of this trick. So they had never heard of it. So it wasn't some kind of ubiquitous thing that people were taught back then. It seems to be a very specific paratrooper or smoke jumper tactic to do. So whether that narrows down suspect, Andrade.
I mean, is it that far out of the realm of possibility to just say that he thought it was a real parachute?
No.
I mean,
because but you wouldn't tie. I mean, who is dumb enough? I mean, Cooper is not stupid, I don't think. I mean, you cannot tie a parachute to yourself thinking it's going to, not break or something. I mean, it just doesn't seem, very. I mean, those are the two options really. He tied it to himself, intending to use it for some reason, or he thought it was a functioning reserve, even though it says non-functional or training on it. We don't know what it says, or however it had a red X on it. We don't know, and then tied it to himself. So not only are you missing the fact that it says non-functional dummy or whatever, but then you're going to tie it to yourself thinking it's going to work as a reserve. That's like double stupid. So that's 2 levels of stupid. So I think he must have tied it to himself. I just can't think of any, but I'm just glad that it saves me from having to keep saying, well, I guess he tossed the dummy chute out the back for some reason. That's what we had to say, right? He just, he kicked it out or didn't like the look of it. But this keeps us from having to say that. And the FBI it's funny, again, the FBI, this was not their only case. Okay. The case agents on Cooper, I think, as John Detler said, it was their only case for about 3 or 4 months. Then they went back to their regular cases and things. So they're missing a lot. So we have them later on saying the dummy chute was not on the plane. So Cooper must have just thrown it out the back. Remember, the SR-71 is looking for the dummy chute and the briefcase. It was looking for those 2 things because they presumed Cooper just tossed the dummy chute. So they missed this audio. But there's another thing. I mean, so they missed the audio of Tina saying he's wearing 2 chutes. That passed them by somehow. But I think that's the biggest thing. No, he did not have D-rings. No, that's the thing. That's the whole issue. He did not have D-rings. So he tied it to himself. Okay, he somehow tied that thing, probably with shroud lines, to his harness. For what purpose, we don't know.
Now, another thing in the audio that we've gone around and around about, Ryan, in the past is we'll have to pick that flight up. We'll have to pick that plane up in the air.
Yeah.
So that is from the mouth of Bill Radicek in the audio.
Seems so.
Unless
he's parroting Cooper. But
but there's nothing to indicate that in the audio.
Right.
So it would seem as if that originates with Rat rather than Cooper.
Right, because when he references Cooper, he says he's telling us to get the show on the road. He's saying this or that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then this time, I forget, you obviously can pull it up, but he says something like, I guess we'll have to pick it up in the air, pick those plans up in the air, Paul, or something like that.
So he's telling us to get the show on the road, so I guess we'll have to pick our flight plan up in the air.
Right.
So where he says that, pick it up in the air. I see. I'm trying to find that. Where is this the? Why do I not? I can't have a damn. I can't ever find my shit.
About 5:30, he says, crew requested second truck with third one standing by. Considerable delay in getting load of fuel. Hijacker was getting nervous, saying he must get the show on the road. That's from the Soderlund notes.
Well, I'm just like, somewhere it says, this might be where I've got it.
Yeah, it's at 7:22.
What does he say?
He says, fuel truck. This is from the transcript. I'm sorry, from the teletype. Fuel truck left stairs removed. We'll have Al leave the area. Forward door has been closed. He has agreed to let us know. He has agreed to let us take off with the stairs in the full upright position. And he has just called and said to get the plane on the road.
Okay. Well, I was trying to find, because I had it somewhere. I was trying to find where Soderlund wrote to the FBI saying, in my review of the of the transcripts or whatever, Cooper says pick the show up on the road, right? So I was trying to find
well, that's in his notes timed at 5:30. That's in the Soderlund notes.
Right. Damn. Okay. Well, I just, that really pisses me off that I can't, can't find things when I need it.
But it sounds like Soderlund was just going off of what was on the paper, and the way it got transcribed is, Cooper.
From Cooper, yeah, because the radio sounds like it's totally Radicek saying that.
It's totally Radicek saying it. It seems evidently clear to me. But on the transcripts, it probably was interpreted by Soderlund that Cooper said we can file a flight plan in the air. So he reads that and he's like, okay, this guy must have some advanced aviation knowledge.
Okay, so I've got it right here. All right, here. Let me finally, I was able to. I need to label my stupid files better, so I can for my show purposes. Here we go. Okay, so this is what Paul Soderlund wrote to the FBI at some point within the week of the hijacking. It says Soderlund advised that in reviewing conversations held by the pilot during the hijacking, the comment was made by the hijacker concerning IFR clearance. You can pick it up in the air. This indicates to Soderlund that the hijacker has flying background in as far as he knew procedures for IFR clearance. Now, the weird thing about that is, Rat is saying that to Paul Soderlund a few days earlier. So is like we are missing the IFR clearance stuff, right? So that could be an earlier 5 minutes earlier conversation.
Could be
because IFR clearance is not heard in the audio we have.
Well, I know, and we've disagreed on the IFR clearance. I don't think Cooper ever said those words. I think those are words that Soderlund used in his communication with the FBI. And I think the fact that Rat uses the expression "pick it up in the air," I think probably underscores that.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you there, Chris.
Yeah, it does seem like that. And again, I need to do an entire video on aviation knowledge because I'm quite certain during my research on the copycats, in every single copycat hijacking, they're telling the press, this guy knew about the airplane, yada, yada, yada. They're saying the exact same things. And there's no way Richard LaPointe knew a goddamn thing about a DC-9. Okay? The dude's just back from Vietnam for 3 weeks. A Huey door guy.
Well, in the audio, I think Scott in the audio in the 12 minutes of audio, Scott says something like he seems to know a little something about the airplane or something like that.
And
right?
He's a pilot.
But what is the context in which he says that though? I think it's about flying unpressurized, right? I think if you look at the audio, he says something like he wants us to fly unpressurized, no higher than 10,000 feet. I don't know where he got that from. He seems to know a little something about the aircraft, something along those lines.
Yeah, that's I thought I had that.
Which to me doesn't strike me as something that is only a pilot would know, that they would have to fly unpressurized.
Yeah, that kind of. You don't need to be a pilot to know that.
Or that you would have to stay, right around
anybody
10,000
who is
feet.
Well, if one thing, anybody who had served as a crewman on an Air Force plane would know that. If you're that's kind of like just general nerd aviation knowledge that that planes pressurized at a certain altitude. It's not crazy.
And it doesn't seem like it was Cooper's first time in an aircraft.
No. Look, it's like the difference in a guy who does not know what he's doing in Cooper is, I know that I'm kind of in the middle now. Chris, your sense has always been that Cooper, we are overvaluing we're overestimating his knowledge of things.
Well, I echo what Larry Carr has always said, and it's that Cooper had just enough knowledge to be a danger to himself and others. It's just a little bit of knowledge, and that was enough to let him do this. So I don't think Cooper had to be a criminal mastermind or a pilot or a paratrooper to be able to pull this off.
No, but the difference in a dumbass. But the difference in a dumbass. Look at the Paul Cini hijacking.
I was just going to say, disaster. If you want a dumbass, look at Paul Cini.
Yeah.
No offense to Paul Cini, but
Well, and again, Cooper is so damn calm. All things considered, I know he gets pissy a few times, But like, I mean, compared to other hijackers, he is just like, he has smoked some indica and he's just chilling. He's just chilling for the most part. He's not
I don't
bothered.
know what indica is. What is indica?
It's marijuana that makes you sleepy.
I know.
You're being cute. Aren't you funny? Somebody found that funny. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. Oh, by the way,
have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
Yeah, where you think you're smarter than you are.
Yeah,
or like
where people with
or the
low
stupider you are. Yeah,
the more confident you are in what you believe and what you think you know. So maybe Cooper, maybe Cooper was part of the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, I mean, we have different levels. Obviously, Cini was a real dumbass. McCoy was a helicopter pilot and a small plane pilot. I mean, so McCoy at least knew things about planes for sure. Rob Hetty was not a pilot, but Rob Hetty knew enough to give them coordinates to follow, or degrees to follow, which is more than I would know.
Well, remember, they all had the benefit of learning from Cooper too.
True. Yeah, true. That's true of making it better. Although I don't think that, God, as much as I hate to say it, McCoy's probably the best. I think
McCoy is Cooper. Cooper is McCoy.
Oh, Hardy. Har. No, but I think that, I mean, look, McCoy is the only one who got the money back to his house. Stupidly, but he brought it into his house. But he is the only one who slept in his bed that night. That's for sure. And he gave them coordinates to follow that flew right over where he was from. So not bad. So I mean, as much as I call him McDoofus, McCoy wasn't a terrible hijacker. He was a nervous hijacker.
But I mean, would you consider anybody who attempted something like this smart? I mean, this is pretty dumb. It's pretty dumb. I mean, any time you try to break the law, it's pretty much a dumb move.
Well,
even if you get away with it.
Troubled, maybe more so than dumb sometimes. I mean, like Martin McNally, obviously, look, in another life, Matt could have been a lawyer, for no doubt. Matt is smart. But
at the same time, I mean, I mentioned it with that recent heist at the Louvre. I mean, those guys were blue collar dudes. They weren't, Danny Ocean and Brad Pitt from Ocean's 11. I mean, they were blue collar bros who just chainsawed their way into the Louvre and stole a bunch of shit. So you don't have to be an expert or a genius or
no,
you just have to have the stones and a little bit of knowledge. That's it. I just think that's what Cooper had, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, Cooper definitely had, I mean, he either was exceptionally brave as a human being, or he was suicidal, perhaps,
or just overconfident.
I mean, even if you're overconfident, he's so relaxed, is what I'm saying. He's just
and that brings confidence. I mean, confidence brings calmness. Preparation breeds confidence. I mean, he thinks he's going to pull this off. He's got no doubt about his abilities. He's chilling. I'm good. I'm going to make it.
He's also an older guy, and they just tend to have more life experiences, and they're more, they're more self-assured than a lot of these copycats that were younger bucks.
Yeah, I mean, Heinemann is weird, but he's not out of control. He's never like scaring the crew, really. I mean, he's a jerk, but he's not like panicking at any point. Melvin Fisher, as weird as he was, so Heinemann's, but I bring up Heinemann because Heinemann's 49 years old at the time. Melvin Fisher's 48. They're the two calmest of these guys. And I think that lends some credibility to Cooper being about that age, perhaps, right? Because he's life experience. His give a damn button has been pushed. He knows that there's no, and I don't know. I mean, I don't think Cooper was afraid of dying. I'll say that. No. Whether that's because he was stupid or brave or foolhardy or dumb or whatever. But
I don't think Cooper ever questioned that this plan was going to fail. I don't think that was ever in doubt for him. I think he walked into that airport believing 100% that he was going to get away with it.
Yeah, and I think that's reflective in his, his demeanor. That he was so cool and
yeah.
It's
so
like,
go ahead.
No,
nope,
I'm done.
It's your show.
Okay, well, don't forget what you're going to say. Somebody just said, solve Tina Barr and you solve the mystery. No. We could figure out how the money got there, and
You'd
that
never
would
get
not give us
Cooper's
Cooper.
name. No.
That's the beauty of Tina Barr for Cooper. It became one big distraction. You can go off in a rabbit hole trying to figure out Tina Barr, and that'll not get you any closer to finding out Cooper's identity. So whether Cooper had anything to do with it or not, he must have loved it, because he's like, yeah, here, people are trying to figure this out now. They're not actually looking for who I am.
I mean, it's the same thing about the flight path. It's like,
yeah,
is it really that important to know whether he jumped over orchards or battleground? At this point, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the biggest guy when it comes to the drop zone, and trying to figure out where it is. And I will fully admit, I could find out tomorrow the exact 3 square feet radius
his boots,
and it ain't going to give you Cooper's name. So
it's academic curiosity for us.
But it'd still be nice to check that box off. It
would.
Okay, this is 3 square foot. We checked it. There's nothing there. We can be fairly confident Cooper got all this shit out.
Yeah,
of us.
and it also fits the same space as the audio, in that it gives a bit more context. It gives us a bit more. I mean, if we know how the money got to Tina Barr and we know where Cooper landed, it would at least give us a little bit more framing of the crime. The inflection, so to speak,
Chris,
of what was going on.
One thing that you've done that has been a great contribution, but I guess, the flight
Fantasy
path
Football League.
Yes, but the flight path is an academic thing, sure, but one way that you've making contact with people who worked on Sage radar systems and things like this, we're able to kill conspiracy theories better and stop wasting time on that shit. So like, that's where it helps. Like, knowing that the aircraft was pinged every 5 seconds.
That's true.
For 3 hours is nice to know. Right.
You could say the same thing for Tina Barr. It'd be nice to solve that mystery, so that we don't have to waste our time on it. Right. Then all the focus is on Cooper's identity.
It just shuts people up. It's like, finding documents that flat out say they took the damn plane apart in Reno. Nobody's hiding on the plane.
I mean, that's really nothing that I did that was amazing. It was reaching out to people who know more about a topic than I do, and finding those people who are experts where I'm not, and letting them speak for themselves. So,
well, this is the beauty of a crowdsourced effort.
Yeah.
I mean, the 3 of us have all done things that have advanced this case significantly, I would say. And so, not tooting our own horns, but just to point out that, everyone can make an impact. If there or Ron Ravancic is in the. I mean, to have a PhD river hydrologist now, who is a Cooperite, is a huge deal, right? And I mean, we can argue and say, well, I still think the money got there naturally. Well, Ron's like, no, it didn't. Like, that's not how it works. And so, I mean, I'm sure Ron would have loved to have said, yeah, it got there naturally, you idiots. But his research says, I don't think so. And which, again, as reluctant as Chris and I are both Occam's razor people on as far as Tina Barr, saying, well, hell, it's 15 feet from a damn mile wide river. How else did it get there? And it's waterlogged. It's flotsam. But Tom K's evidence, and now Ravancic saying no. I mean, kind of seems like somebody put it there for some effed up reason. I don't know why, but it's almost hard to believe. And Tina Barr is so stupid. It's like, of course it washed up on shore, but I guess not.
Well, yeah, I don't think 3 separate packets of money wash up,
together.
That's not how money and hydrology work. But I don't think you can completely discount other avenues of getting there either, naturally, in terms of transport on other vehicles and those types of things, having it arrive to Tina Bar in the money bag. And, I think dredging to one degree or another was probably involved, at least in terms of dredge spoils being put on top of the money. I don't think the money was brought up from the bottom of the river, but, there were,
oh my God,
almost 90,000 cubic yards of dredge spoils. So
Mike. Okay. Mike says the plane was not completely searched as thorough as you think. Bro, number one, it was. The FBI swarmed the damn plane immediately, for one thing. I mean, they were literally they were behind it in cars chasing it down the runway, which it's a good thing Cooper wasn't still on board, because he'd have been freaked the hell out by that. That would have not pleased the crew if Cooper had still been on board. They charge on the plane, okay, with dogs, okay, bomb sniffing dogs. Then, and as soon as the crew is off, the FBI comes on, does their prints, and as they leave, mechanics they unscrewed all the panels, the floor panels, the bathroom panels. They went into the cargo, and they searched all of the luggage of all the crew, all the passengers' luggage was still on the plane. They searched through all the luggage. The plane was searched. And then Mike is saying he threw the money out the plane. No, because Tina Bar, where the money was found, is 15 miles west of wherever the plane ever was. And we know where the plane was. We know the flight path by the Air Force's radar within a quarter of a mile. Okay.
The crew searched the plane first too, even before the FBI
and the crew
got
searched
on.
the plane. Yeah, the
crew was on. I mean, the crew was on hands and knees looking under seats and everything, because they were looking for the bomb. They wanted to make sure the bomb wasn't on board. So
So
the crew put eyes on every space before the FBI even got on board. So
I mean, look, I understand why it would make sense to say, well, he threw the money out the plane, but the problem is, again, the flight path does not go near Tina Bar. Okay. That black line is Tina Bar is over where like the sea in Caution is. Okay. Or maybe a little north, probably a little north of that, actually. Yeah, it is. So, I would say a little bit north of the sea, and Caution there. So no, they're not within 10, 15 miles, the plane, of where the money was found. So he didn't throw it out.
That's the attraction of this case, though, is that you look at it and you're like, oh, this is the answer. Right. That's simple. He hit on the plane. He threw the money out. But then when you take it another step further, well, if he threw the money out, where would the money land? Okay, but where was the money found? And then, the case starts to become more and more and more abstract. And then, and it doesn't become, the easy answers don't come, and you can't be so dismissive of, he threw the money out the back of the plane. Plane wasn't searched. He ran out the back steps when it landed in Reno. Those are nice. It's nice, easy way to just dismiss it. But, the case, as both of you guys can, testify, this case is far, far more complex and complicated than that. And there are no easy answers. So
he just says that the map doesn't show Lake Vancouver. Is Lake Vancouver
Lake Vancouver is right now. It's right where the word Caution is on the left-hand side.
Oh, I see it. Yep, you're right. I can see it right there. You're right. Caution is where Lake Vancouver is. Because for some reason I thought that Lake Vancouver is maybe man-made or something.
Yeah, there are no conspiracies. There's no, there's no magic. There's no. It's like. No. It's and
he got away. He got away.
I think that's what I've been fighting for in this case, is just pushing back against this idea that there's just
he's special.
He's special. That there's this conspiracy that there, and it's that's not how the real world works.
He's just a guy who got away.
He was just a regular guy who pulled off a crime and got away, and that's it.
And look,
that doesn't diminish the mystery. It's a fascinating mystery. I wouldn't, we wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't. I'm not diminishing the mystery, but I'm just saying, like, well, that map is this, or people come up with all kinds of excuses, and even like with Eric and the flight path, that well, it wasn't this, it was that, it was the chase planes, not the 305, and it's not that complicated, and it, not that it's not that complicated, it's not that esoteric, The case is very complex, but the case itself is not supernatural. It's not esoteric. It's not, Fugazi. It's
it's a
little more. It's more concrete than that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a guy who obviously didn't tell anybody. If anybody knew, it was only family or a wife or something. That's it. And they've gone to their grave by now, probably with it, right? So,
yeah, which I don't know. I mean, that's pretty rare. I mean,
it is rare.
Somebody pulls that off and doesn't tell anybody, or tells someone and they don't tell anybody. I mean,
may have lost the money, and didn't want to tell anybody about it because it's embarrassing.
That's my prevailing theory. So
yeah,
I think something rare had to have. There's some rare involved here.
Something's weird,
for it to be 55 years unsolved, right? There's some
from A to Z, we don't know where LMNOP. That's the part that's missing.
A rodeo. He jumps well. I mean, he jumps 15 miles.
I think it's 12. I think it's 12 miles
northeast of Tina Bar.
Northeast, northwest, northeast, east.
Yeah. So rodeo, if you're looking at this map, Tina Bar is, I don't know, north of the Caution, north of that sea. Okay. And Cooper is jumping somewhere. If you look up at the map, you'll see La Center at the very top. I would say La Center down to Hyson there. That general area is where I'm thinking he jumped these days. That's my thought. And so, yeah, he's well before Tina Bar. Yeah. And well west or well east of Tina Bar as well. So I just Tina Bar. The only thing now, Chris, is interesting. I haven't picked your brain on this yet. Is that for years the money at Tina Bar has been used to say that Cooper perished. Right? It's been like that's been like the thing. It's like, well, the money he didn't spend the money. The money, I think Darwin Schroeder, FBI agent, said a thief is usually with his money, whatever, right? But I have been arguing lately that I think Tina Bar is actually evidence of his survival, right? Because for him to die and that money to get there, I mean, the only way he's dying in the hijacking, in my opinion, is no pulling, okay? Because he just splats down somewhere, and because if he opens his parachute canopy and then crash lands, there's going to be a damn huge ass parachute canopy visible somewhere, over time. Okay. So in my opinion, Tina Bar is actually evidence that he lived, because the only way for Cooper to die and the money to get at Tina Bar is you have to invent some scenario where some yokel comes across Cooper's dead body, takes the money off of Cooper, then buries Cooper and his parachute so well that nobody finds anything of it for half a century. And then for some reason, that person buries some of the money on Tina Bar, right? It's more likely to me that Cooper getting out of the drop zone with the money is how the money ends up Tina Bar eventually, right? Then you see what I'm saying? Like, to me, it seems like Tina Bar is evidence of his survival. What do you say to that?
I mean, I can't say I agree. I don't. I mean, if he survives, why does he leave 3% of his spoils on a beach next to the river? I mean, I can't. I mean, why?
I don't know. I mean, why was he giving $6,000 to the stewardesses?
Giving $6,000 to somebody is a lot different than leaving $6,000 on a random beach somewhere.
Well, maybe he was. Maybe it was a thing where I'm going to bury it on the beach and I'll put a stick in it and go get it tonight or something, and the guy never showed up.
Why $3,000?
Especially
why leave it there for 8 years? Why not go back for it?
I think one moment I liked at CooperCon was Ravancic and Tom K were up there talking about the money being bundled. They were like, well, it's $6,000 because now we know it was $6,000, not $5,800. So like, well, $6,000 and and like they were trying to figure out the math of it. I'm like, it doesn't work. Like, these were not bundled in $6,000 bundles. The math doesn't work for that. It was 5 packets. Okay, because the math works. I mean, again, $10,000 packets, easy. Put 20 in a bag and you're done. You don't have to do some kind of weird math where the whole idea of them randomly, this, I don't know even who said that. I think that, I don't know where that came from. I know what it came from. In 1980, one FBI agent in Portland, it was said that the money was hastily packaged.
Yeah.
Which bullshit. Like,
I remember we looked at that. We're like, that agent wasn't even around back then. How would they even know? I think Fly was pushing that based off like one thing mentioned somewhere. He tends to do that. Yeah. It's like, it doesn't make any sense that he would be privy to that information. Like, he would have to been there at the time. And
well, yeah. Did this guy ever speak to Bill Grinnell? Jack Pringle was the guy's name. Yeah.
He's just talking out of his ass.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because and again, it just makes sense. The money was pre-packaged in $250,000, and it's going to be in packets. It's going to be bundles of $10,000. It's just duh. And Bill Grinnell said that was their standard bank procedure. So that further complicates Tina Bar too, right? Is that you've got 3 packets, not 5.
You would need an anomaly with whatever. You would need an anomaly to happen for that to be a 3-packet bundle.
For 2 to separate in situ, as they call it, whatever. Where are those 2? So that speaks to human intervention.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember that Tina Bar is not a what's the word I'm looking for? It's in flux. I mean, there's constant erosion going on. There's flooding going on. There's change of seasons. There's dredge spoils being dumped on it. There's bulldozing. There's frickin' cattle walking on it. It is a constantly changing environment. So it's not as if it's, a box that's in somebody's attic and sat there for 50 years. There's a multitude of variables acting on that money. So, and I think that's important to recognize, So, I think that money, I think that money was acted upon by a lot of variables other than just sitting in sand for 8 years.
Well, it had been there for a while.
Yeah. There's a lot of variables that we can't, we can't account for. We don't know how might they play in.
Well, and that was my whole problem with Eric being so damn, laser focused on Tina Bar solves everything. Tina Bar. I'm like, Eric, there's 9 years in between Cooper and Tina Bar. 9 years.
But I can understand the appeal of Tina Bar because it's a sort of a buried treasure type of thing, right? It's, that's appealing to everybody. Look at what was it? The guy that hid that money in Yellowstone. Finn.
Yeah.
There's the other one that's got people all riled up, The Secret or whatever. That's appealing. Treasure hunts are appealing to people, and finding buried treasure on a beach. That's kind of cool. So I can understand the appeal, but at some point you have to look at the totality of evidence and realize that just because the money was found there does not mean that the criminal was there.
But like I said, that's what bothered me though about the Eric thing. I get that, but it's like the problem is you've got chapter 9 of a book and you have chapter 1. Like, you can't make any assumptions when you've got 8 chapters you haven't read, right? Like, you can't be so it's got to be this way. It's like the tie stuff, the tie is not a red herring. I don't think so, but it's also not everything either.
Well, yeah, of course not. I think even the people who are researching the tie intently would say that it's not the end all and be all of the case. So we're all kind of, my thing is the flight path and the drop zone. I know Nikki does a lot of work on the tie and the particles and that sort of stuff. So yeah, we're all kind of working in totality here, holistically here, doing our part. So, each little thing points us, a little closer to understanding the case, but I think very few things are actually going to give us a name. And the only thing, in my opinion, that's going to give us a name is DNA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can maybe, like Nikki has said, maybe narrow it down to a cohort of, I don't know, 300 people that it could possibly be. And maybe you can find one or two guys who fit the description and the age and all that sort of stuff. But, the only thing that's going to completely solve this thing is DNA.
Yeah, it's a without DNA, we're all just kind of taking shots in the dark here. They're all kind of Hail Mary passes, whether you want to try to see if you can find Cooper through, narrowing him down by the tie particles, or if you want to profile Cooper and you want to say, okay, based on everything, I think Cooper is this type of guy, and you can go out looking for that type of guy.
Right.
You might get paid dirt that way.
But like anything else, like I think you can also take evidence and make it fit your premise. So, like if you start off and you're like, well, I think Cooper was a paratrooper who served in Vietnam. Well, yeah, I mean, you can go and find guys who fit that. That doesn't make him Cooper. So, you can put the cart before the horse sometimes when it comes to evidence, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, same thing with, if you believe that Cooper, was involved in special metals and there's nothing that's going to sway you from that idea, then you're only going to be looking for guys who are involved in special metals. And I guarantee you're going to find a guy who fits the description, who has some, jumping background and, all of that. So, I think you can narrow the pool down and find some interesting people. And I know both of you guys have. So, but, the only thing that's going to lead to a nationally televised press conference is DNA.
DNA, yeah. Or that miracle find, something.
The hair slide.
Or a miracle find, either the hair slide by the FBI, or, Cooper left his plane ticket somewhere that's stashed away somewhere in an attic or in a book or somewhere.
It's just a Ghost Rider. No. Okay, it says
stumbled across that.
Ghost Rider says, where'd it go? There's lots of water in that area of Washington and Oregon. Cooper definitely got wet, if not drowned. If he'd survived, he'd need dry clothes and footwear, even walking across a cow pasture. Okay, so no. I mean, the only water that Cooper is encountering in the drop zone, really, I don't know. I mean,
puddle of cow piss.
I mean, yeah, there's just not. I mean, there just isn't anything. I mean, there's the Lewis River, and that's pretty much it before the Columbia.
I mean, there's the Salmon River that runs there, but the Salmon River isn't very big.
No. We've researched that Ghost Rider, and I mean, it's just not. There's just not a lot of water. I think it's like 98% land, really.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, that beats a terrible luck from to land in a 30 feet wide river, the Lewis River. I mean, that would suck, Although the Lewis River is bigger than I thought it was. Going there and seeing it in person this year, it's not huge, but it's bigger than I thought it was.
That's what she said.
Oh.
So circling back to the tapes.
Yes.
Best guesses as to its origins and history. Nikki, you're the one that found them.
Yeah, Nikki, what do you think?
So right now, if I had to put my money on something, I would say this is someone that worked at Northwest, and they were tasked with doing the splicing of this audio. I think it was someone that was involved in that. That's what makes most sense to me. And through her connections through working for Northwest in Detroit, she had a relationship with this individual, and that's how she got it. That's my best guess at the moment. But I mean, I'm not super convinced on that, but that's where if I put my money on something, you put a gun in my head, that's where I'd place my bet. But mystery like things in this case.
Ryan, what about you?
I guess I'm with Nikki. I guess, I mean, judging from the clues with what the woman has said, it seems like, yeah, I mean, it just, yeah. I mean, it just, gosh, I still feel like it. Yeah. I think Paul Soderlund was so involved. The FBI outsourced all their drop zone stuff to either the Air Force or to Northwest Airlines. So they had a big responsibility to get their shit right. And I think I could see Northwest Airlines asking for the audio from the FAA to make their own splice, right? Because they're the ones who are having to calculate all this shit. And we know there are points and there are parts in the 302s where we do see them saying, based on the recording of this and that, you know, this is what Northwest Airlines is saying. And basically, we're listening to the recording of this or that. So it would make sense that Northwest would have had a complete audio splice. I've never seen that word splice. And remember, I sent you the other day. I went through the files. I did a search for cassette tapes, audio, and I sent you everything I found, and it wasn't nothing that was going to be helpful. The FAA had their own tapes, right? We do know that.
Yeah.
That was all. That's all I got from there is that the FAA had tapes, and there was one part where an assistant U.S. attorney is telling a TV show in the 70s that they cannot have access to the tapes. So, I mean, then maybe the U.S. attorney's office would have tapes. I don't know.
I mean, the only entity that I know that would probably have both the FAA air traffic control tapes and Northwest Airlines private company line tapes is the FBI. I don't see why the FAA would have the NWA's private company line recorded. And I don't know why Northwest Airlines would need and or want the recordings from air traffic control. I'm not even sure the FAA would give that to them willingly. I suppose it's possible. I guess if I were leaning, I would lean toward the origin of these tapes as somebody who was a ham radio operator and recorded both of them somehow.
Yeah. Okay.
And did his own splice.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I was initially reluctant to believe that. I was like, man, there's no way that you know, could have been done in 1971. And I looked into it more and I proved myself wrong. And, you know, ham radio operators I mean, if you were serious, you were serious. And, you know, they would have the appropriate equipment. They would know what to do. So I'd probably say it was probably someone who was a hardcore ham radio operator who, you know, was used to listening in on airline communications and saw this hijacking happen and thought, well, shit, you know, I'm going to tap in and see what I can hear.
And that makes sense.
I don't know. But I don't know.
What makes sense with what you said about this person was tapping into the frequencies, right? So now that just hearing you say that, now I'm kind of back to the ham radio guy. And here's another thing on the ham radio on that Mark, and also Ryan did such a good job, but so you couldn't hear it on what we presented, but there was like bleeding in from like another aircraft. And that was,
in fact, I mentioned that to Ryan, is that there seems to be some other noise, background noise. It almost sounds like perfect wording bleeding into it. And it almost sounded like people talking in the background. And I didn't know if it was another person in the cockpit talking on a different frequency and we're being overheard. I don't know what that was.
The audio is, I wish I had that isolated. It's another Northwest airline aircraft. Because they're saying they're saying like Northwest, you know, they're saying Northwest 275 go to da, da, da. So like,
well, I wish you would get that to me because I mean I have the unredacted company line transcript, so I can go through and see, because the ones that are publicly known are redacted and they took out all of the non-flight 305. So it might give us a little bit more context in terms of timing and that sort of stuff. Maybe not.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll send you that later.
Yeah, so that leads me to believe that it was some like a ham guy at his control station, and he's got other stuff that he's got playing in there too, and that got picked up. And then Mark actually caught this because the recording she sent me, and she sent me other like what she recorded on her like video on her phone, and this clicking sound didn't come through. I don't know why. But in the what she sent us, the 40-minute recording or whatever, had this very strange clicking sound.
It's terrible.
Click, 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 click. And Mark, I guess because he's an aviation buff, he listens to a lot of these ATC stuff. He's like, this sounds like a Russian. This sounds exactly like a Russian channel. This Russian channel, and he plays it. He plays it for me. And goddamn,
it's the same clicking. It's funny.
It's the same exact clicking sound.
There's a name for those Russian broadcast sites too. They're pretty well known.
It's
People
the
listen to them
same
all the
goddamn.
time.
It was too exact for that not just to be a coincidence in my mind. So that's where I'm like, okay, this again, a ham guy. He's listening in all kinds of frequencies, and he was also listening to some Russian frequency, and that also somehow got on there because I don't think that clicking sound came from her phone or whatever she was using to record it. No. So again, that's pointing into.
I wonder if I can.
It blows my mind that if this guy is a ham radio guy, and he happened to be recording, those two. Man, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. Here's the other thing: is you said that there was 90 minutes of communication.
No, 3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah, 90 minutes on each side. So I guess it played two. So you flipped it around, and then 90 minutes. You flip it. Another 90 minutes.
Because if let's say he's based in Seattle, okay? Let's say
most likely this person was from Seattle. So my source
was not.
My source is from Seattle, born and raised, spent all over. I guess she spent some time in Detroit for working for Northwest, but she's lifelong Seattle. Lived on a few of the different islands as well. Very well connected.
So did she say that the audio was recorded in Seattle?
She didn't say where it was recorded. If I had a bet, I bet you it was recorded by someone in the Seattle area. Knowing her and her background. She's also a caregiver. She took care of a lot of elderly folks in Seattle. So I've also wondered if maybe this is one of her someone she took care of that just happened to be this ham radio guy or whatever.
If they're listening on ham radio and they're picking up VHF signals and they're in Seattle, and this is the reason that communication was lost with Flight 305 when they got near the Portland area. That's why they went on the phone patch. And right at that time that we presume Cooper was jumping, which was, I think they got to Portland about 8:15, 8:16, 8:17 around that time.
Yeah.
That was almost exactly the same distance where you would lose communications if you were listening in Seattle, based on, I think it's like 108 miles or something like that away from Seattle is when that frequency would not be able to be picked up. So if they were recording in Seattle, then that recording would have stopped right around 8:15. So they would have, if it's 3 hours long, we would know where the end was. It would be about 8:15. And if it's 3 hours long, then they would have started recording about 5:15. Right? Is my timing, is my math correct on that?
Yes, ma'am.
That sounds about right. What time does it play touchdown at SeaTac?
5:46, I think.
Okay.
So,
but they would have been on the company line earlier than that.
Sure.
They were on the company line from the moment of hijacking, just about. Well, no, I take that back there. I think they were on the company. Well, yeah, they were on the company line. Shoot, when did they start the company line? About 3 o'clock.
At what time would the general public, at what time would the general public know there's a hijacking going on?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know. I've always wanted to see if anybody had recordings, like local TV stations, of their coverage of the hijacking, and I haven't been able to find any. But yeah, I don't know when it came over. I don't know when it became public knowledge. That's a great question.
Because if we knew that, and we can kind of see if we can correlate that to the 4 o'clock, whatever time we think he probably would have started recording, that lines up that lend more credence again to some, some ham guy. You just got there's skyjacking going on.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, no, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, but we've heard stories of people pressed up against the terminal windows looking at the plane. So I don't know when people in the airport would have known. But I don't know. It would be interesting to know exactly when that came over radio, when it came over the TV. Of course, if he's a ham radio guy and he was listening in, he could have heard, emergency signals, Seattle police, those types of things too.
Yeah, on the scanners and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of ham radio people just listen in on air traffic frequencies.
Everything,
Yeah. So, but my best guess is if he was based in Seattle and he was listening to, if he was recording from Seattle, those transmissions would have ended about 8:15, right around that time. So that's when we know they would have terminated, because there's no way for a VHF signal for someone with a ham radio to pick up a VHS signal that far away, by any standard.
Oh yeah.
means.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, I'm trying to see here to show you guys, if you'll give
Say
me.
hi to my kitty.
Yes. Who is that?
Well, we had a huge house fire, right?
Yes.
And we are displaced at the moment. So we found this kitten, came up at the place that we were living at, and it had a broken femur and a broken pelvis, limping up to us crying. So of course we took it in, nursed it back to health. It's perfectly healthy now, thank God. And we named it Smoker because of our fire.
Okay.
Oh, what do they call that? The cat.
Smoker.
There's like a thing where it's like people come across cats. They call it the cat distribution.
Yeah, something. I'm telling you, we can't get away from it. We were like, we're not going to, we lost all of our pets in the fire. So we were like, we're taking a break from pets, and apparently pets didn't take a break from us.
Yeah.
No. So I've got, here we go, people. All right. So I finally got this. Make sure it will upload here. So here's that clicking. This is what the audio sounded like when we got it. It's uploading right now, but this is but yeah, it was. What's interesting though is I spent ages trying to get this clicking out. I mean, ages. I mean, it
was so disruptive. I'm like, we're like thinking like, we're screwed. Was this put there intentionally so we couldn't?
Yeah, it's terrible. But what happened was eventually I realized, holy shit, it's all in the right channel. It's all because I was listening on my earphones, and I pulled my earphone out to like scratch my ear, and I'm like, I don't hear it. I was like, oh my God. It's totally in the right channel. So I was able to just move all the audio to left channel, and it cleared it up. So here we go. Let me play this for people.
You better get another truck out here so we can maintain continuity of filling this aircraft up. He's getting awfully antsy. That's
it. It's terrible. And it was just that hissing the whole time. It was like, but so I was able to clean that up and get that handle. Okay, so let me go back to a question. Mittens is talking about why the drop zone was not a circle, and I'm sure Chris would know that, because like why is it it's a parallelogram essentially, and this is not my parallelogram, but this is like that's basically it looked like that, the drop zone. Okay.
Yeah, it was due to drift.
Yes, because like Cooper is going to blow to the northeast of the flight path.
Yeah, even beyond that is if he jumps from the aircraft and the chute doesn't open, he's going to go straight down.
Right.
If he jumps and he pulls at 45 seconds, it's going to be a different landing spot than if he jumped at 30 seconds or 60 seconds or that sort of thing. So depending on the altitude at which he pulled when he pulled the ripcord and the chute deployed, it's going to depend on where exactly he lands within that parallelogram. And of course, we know the direction of the wind and how fast the wind was blowing. And you take all of that into account, and people who are far smarter than with mathematics, people who worked with this, with the Air Force, were able to calculate that. People like Tom Spangler, who made a living out of dropping shit out of C-130 aircraft and making sure that it lands in the right space. So yeah,
that's why it's not a circle, because Cooper's not blowing the other direction at all.
Correct.
And if he falls straight down, he's going straight down. So there's no
right. And I think the maximum drift is about 4. If he jumped from the aircraft and deploys the chute immediately, I think the drift would have been about 4 miles.
Yeah.
So he would have drifted 4 miles approximately to the northeast.
Now look, Mitten, look, we have the actual like documents from them. I mean, that's not just the search, and that is the. I mean, I got to try to find it. I mean, there is the. I mean, it's a parallelogram, and like Northwest Airlines, those guru geniuses who did all this are calling it at section B of the parallelogram. You know, and Cooper's not blowing the other direction. He can't.
Yeah.
So like that's just not the way it works. That's why they didn't search that way.
Although I will give point people in the direction of Dr. Robert Edwards, who in his book spent an entire chapter, and Doc Edwards is pretty established math guy, and he spent an entire chapter in his book Flight 305, DB Cooper and Flight 305, talking about how he felt it was possible that when Cooper jumped, it was possible for him, based on the swirling winds, to kind of swirl, back to the northwest. That's about it.
But wasn't that also based on the placard, which we know is not the placard anymore?
Oh no, I don't think it had anything to do with the placard. I think it had to do with the radio sondes and the at that time. But it is based on incomplete information, because we don't know exactly what the weather was in the drop zone. We don't know, we know Portland, and I think we know another station north of there. But
okay, I think
at any rate, that's a very elementary explanation of his theory. But I would suggest you go read that chapter, and it'll give you maybe a different perspective on
who is talking about
wind.
McCoy. Who in the world is saying? I thought, oh, bless your heart. That's okay. It's okay, Ross. Everybody's new to the case. I thought it was proven McCoy was DB Cooper. No, negative. In fact,
quite the opposite.
Quite the opposite. I would say all of the research says hell no these days. Like not even remote. I mean, it's like, it's like, it reminds me of like, do y'all remember that Animaniacs? It was like the one where he's going through all the countries of the world. United States, Dominican, Puerto Rico. It's like I could do that with McCoy. I could do like a song about McCoy. I mean, like there are literally, and like I say this, I don't like saying literally when it's not literally. There's probably 30 pieces of evidence on their own that would eliminate him. On their own, you have 30 of them, and no evidence that he was Cooper. Like just not even none. And I do think, as I've said before, I think a lot of the people think they don't know about the other copycats, right? So if you did not know about the other copycats, then it would make somewhat sense that, the only 2 people who ever did this were DB Cooper and Richard McCoy. But that's not true. There were 5 other people who did this. McCoy was a fanboy. Thank you, Mike. May I ask the topic of discussion? Well,
It's why Notre Dame didn't get into the college football playoff is the topic.
Because they're not in a conference.
Because they lost to the Miami Hurricanes head-to-head.
That's true. But they're not in a conference. The U, baby. It's all about the U. Let's see. You were way behind if you think. Okay. Cooper knew I-5 landmarks. If he could have seen I-5, that's the problem. I mean, we don't know what he's seeing.
Yeah, well, we do know Soderlund, there's a document where Soderlund says that, the pilot said that there were lights that were visible in the area that could have been used to, jump to a specific location. He does not say what those lights were. Are they I-5? Is it Vancouver? Is it Portland? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's.
Did you ask McClellan about if I-5 was visible at all? What did he say about that?
I did not. I don't know if I asked him that, but he was a good. Okay, Mr. Soderlund told me, contrary to our earlier belief, that the crew told him that they could see the lights of Portland and other distinctive lights in that area. So, given knowledge of the specific area, the hijacker could very easily have made a jump to a specific location. So,
yeah, I will point out that that at the jump, if he's jumping at 811, it's quite far away from. I mean, it's about 15 to 18 miles away from Portland, and they're in cloud cover. So we really don't know how much of the lights of Portland you could see if you're jumping near La Center.
Right. The money that he offered the stewardess was the money found at Tina Bar after he refused, and he threw it out the plane instead of it. She says he put it back in the bag.
Well, not only that, let's just talk physics.
He says that
the plane is over there, 12 miles to the east. He throws it out the back. The money did not magically float on a cloud and land on Tina Bar.
Right.
It just, it just didn't happen. Like you can't throw something out of the back of an airplane and it's going to float 12 miles to the west at 10,000 feet. The math ain't math in there.
I think I knew this at some point. It says, how long would it take him to land after jumping? Well, that does depend on when he opens his parachute mainly.
It does. If he no-pulled, he would have hit the ground in about 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Jumping from 10,000 feet, terminal velocity. I think it's about 60 seconds he would have splattered.
I want to say if he opened at the highest, it's 8 to 10 minutes. Something like that. It's somewhere around that. Nikki, what altitude did you guys pull at?
I think 13.5.
So how long were you floating down after that? At 13,
we did a little free fall, but he pulled pretty soon.
Wait, you jumped at 13. I was saying when did you open the chute? You don't know.
I would guess we probably opened at maybe 8 or 9.
Okay, so you free fall for a little bit,
maybe 10. Yeah, we free fall for a little bit, but then he pulls.
I see, but yeah, do you think some of his money was spent without anyone checking the numbers? Well, nobody's checking those numbers. I mean, that's a non-starter. I mean, that's just nobody's checking Cooper. But for one thing, the only people who had the serial numbers were a couple big banks on the West Coast. That's it. Okay, so I mean, nobody's checking out numbers.
I mean, I don't know if I would say nobody. I know Chris found a thing where the paper said people were writing in requesting the lists because they wanted to do checks.
Yeah, I mean, there were people. And some lists were sent out, but
and you have to remember too is that currency collectors, those Cooper bills were hot items. So if you were a collector and you were looking for, you were on the lookout for a Cooper bill. Now, not to say that was in the immediate aftermath of the hijacking, but certainly, shortly thereafter, if you're 1975, 76, you want to get your hands on a Cooper bill, that'd be pretty great if you're a currency collector for a number of reasons. So people were not like completely disregarding the Cooper money,
Well, and the reason that it's hard to say is because shockingly, the FBI have a document from 1973 where they asked the Treasury Department how long are $20 bills lasting in circulation, and they said 18 months. It's like, good God. So cash was in and out quick back in those days. I mean,
yeah, but how many bills did we have? I mean, we had 100,
10,000,
like 9. Oh, I'm saying minus the Tina Bar, so like 9,000,
9,700 or something like that.
9,700.
So
yeah, and we know those old bills. Some of them make it through. People are still finding them in ATMs now.
Right.
So out of the 9,700. At least over.
Yeah, and to point out too is Darren's podcast, which we all know and love. He had a gentleman on there who wrote a book that was literally called U.S. Currency. And he is a numismatist from a long-time family of currency experts. The guy who literally wrote the book on it, and he said that the chances of that money entering circulation and at least one of the bills being found is virtually nil. And I know there are people who just want to stomp their feet and throw temper tantrums and say that's not possible. But you'd have to argue with the guy who literally wrote the book on U.S. currency.
Yeah. So if he's saying the odds aren't good, he knows probably better than anybody. I mean, so.
Well,
I always bow to expert knowledge, man.
Well, and to point out that we have, thanks to Chris Dunlop, we have an active algorithm. We have an active computer that is scouring automatically all day, every day, all of the serial numbers online. So because people will put star notes on eBay all the time. Okay, or here's a 1969 Twin R bill,
yeah,
and they put the serial numbers on there on eBay, and so we have a computer program that is like 24/7.
This has the ability to go back retroactively. So this thing has gone back to every single sale ever listed online, of every series star note. And not one has come up as a hit. I don't think he's.
So I guess that leads you to the question. That leads the question of if it didn't enter circulation, then why not? Why pull off the heist of the century and not spend any of the money?
I mean, the only thing I can point to is the fact that the serial numbers were recorded and were out there, and he didn't want to take any chances.
Yeah,
I don't think Cooper was like. I don't think Cooper had it. I know Eric, you listen. Other people would say, "Oh, Cooper he owed someone that he owed a big bit. He owed a big bill. He had a $200,000 problem." Didn't seem that way to me. He wasn't totally desperate. Like, yeah, I think he'd like to have it, be nice, stow away.
Well, he tried to give away $6,000. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
He was trying to give away $6,000.
He wasn't in dire straits for this money. So maybe it seems like he might have been in the position where he's like, it's not worth it. My freedom's not. I got away with it. My freedom's not. My freedom's not worth it. I'm not gonna spend it. Or if he did spend it, he spent it in a very smart, careful way. Maybe $20, maybe a $20 a year kind of thing, or very selective.
And as Nicole says, he could have altered the serial numbers, which is a thing that people did.
Yes. That's also a possibility, right? So he either used the money in a clever way that it none ever came back in circulation.
I mean, literally, suspect number one, Joseph Henry Johnston, has a conviction for currency forgery. So, and was flashing 20s around in the days after the hijacking. So, there's calculated, not desperate. But yeah, Cooper did not have a $200,000 problem because he's offering at least $6,000 to the girls.
And he doesn't have any bills less than $20 in his wallet or on his person, apparently, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Cooper at least had $40. Cooper showed up with at least $40 because his plane ticket was $20 on the nose, and he gave Flo Schaffner a $20 bill for a $1 drink.
And $20,
like an asshole.
Yeah, and two $20 bills at the very least, right? He didn't have this, spare change that he's had to scrummage.
I do wonder. I don't think I need to listen to that episode again, but I don't know if Darren asked him about international markets, right? Like, I mean, how often does international money come back to the U.S., right? If it's in Vietnam,
it always ends up one way or another. At the end of the day, it always ends up back here.
But remember, now again, the other problem is lifespan is not long on these currency, and it was not until 1990 that they started recording the serial numbers of destroyed currency. So there's 19 years when the money could have been spent and destroyed, and the few 20s that are still out there, just no one's put them on eBay, or they're in somebody's attic, or who knows. But so I mean, it could have been spent, but I don't know. I mean, but again, you know, Matt, we have another DB Cooper who lost his money in the jump. So how much do we trust Cooper's MacGyvering skills?
Right. Yeah, I mean that is the crux is how does Cooper jump over here with the money and then part of the money end up over here 8 years later.
Yeah, like if
I don't know.
If you want to go with natural arrival, unlikely, and Cooper loses the money, well, that's even more of a conundrum how it gets to Tina Bar, right? If he loses it in the FBI.
Well,
I mean, if this $6,000 was found, in a pond outside of Battleground, I think we'd all be like, oh yeah, that makes sense,
No problem.
But the fact that it was 12 miles away from where he presumably landed, in the opposite direction that the wind was blowing,
not near the Columbia, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
there'd be no reason for people to take a detour there, right? If you're going back to Portland, you're going through Vancouver. There's no reason for you to go on Lower River Road. It's fucking long, dude. It's way out of the way.
Oh, and Join Jen. Actually, Himmelsbach retired a month after the money was found, so not before.
Yeah, but the weekend the money was found, Himmelsbach was actually was out on DB Cooper related work. They were doing some excavation up in Ariel.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they were doing some excavation up in Ariel, and Himmelsbach was there hanging out, thinking that they were going just in case they found something at Cooper's.
Well, but the thing is the money that they found was not fresh. It had been there. The condition of the money indicated.
Oh, right. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
For many, many years. So
right. Well, yeah. And that's a cool thing. One of the new cool things Tom mentioned as far as investigated avenues during his talk at CooperCon. He kind of did like what's kind of what we got cooking up moving forward as far as on the science and forensic standpoint, and he was doing some AI asking some questions, and he came up with I guess there might be a way to figure out how long the degradation, where it was in the degradation process by examining the cellulose, I guess that's inside of the money, and it might be able to give us some idea how long where the degradation process the money was, if it was.
Yeah, there's got to be more scientific
and
stuff that can be done.
The rubber bands too. I mean, I've been kind of digging into the rubber bands a little bit, and I mean, like I've said before, the two enemies of rubber bands is UV light and oxygen, and in just a little bit of research, it's I believe that the rubber bands could have survived if they were buried in Tina Bar for 8 years. And then found in the condition they were, where they were brittle and falling apart. They wouldn't have just, vanished. So I don't know. And at this point, who gives a shit?
Mittens is saying,
I need Ryan to find the goddamn hair slide, and I need him to give it to me so I can give it to Colleen Fitzgerald, and we can just put this to bed.
Yeah, look, I swear to God, if you gave me DB Cooper's third cousin, I would have Cooper in 4 hours on ancestry.com, 100%. Yeah.
If you gave Colleen Fitzgerald Cooper's eighth cousin, she would have you DB Cooper in a day. So
yeah, it's easy. She says, Mitten says, do we know if Cooper actually counted the money? He did not. Maybe that bundle never made it into the plane for some reason. That was a joke we made with Bill Grinnell, I remember, right?
About I don't recall that, but
Bill Grinnell is the guy who carried the money in his lap from the bank to the airport in the crummy Dodge Dart car, and he made a joke about something about that the Tina Bar money was, a bundle that he pulled out, or I don't know, something about that. I was just joking, but although there is an actual document where they did shortchange Cooper $20, I think. Do you know that? There's like,
I saw something.
It's a Harrison. That. It's Harrison wrote that.
Yeah.
It's in Harrison's notes.
But it's not. I don't believe it's an official note. I think it's it's something he hand wrote to in a letter to a friend or something, right? I don't think it was on any official Northwest Orient documentation, a letterhead or anything like that.
Let me see.
But I do know that there was a fellow. His first name was Lauren. He was interviewed by the Washington State Historical Museum. He worked a ground crew there at the airport, and he claimed that they intentionally shorted Cooper a significant amount of money, and I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, somewhere it says, I'm actually going through his notes here, and it's funny in the Harrison notes. I mean, you've got the fuel people saying, I love this line. So this is the fuel people. They're saying, after giving it much thought, I have decided that the charge of 0.03 cents per gallon for fueling your hijacked jet on November 24th seems like blood money. Our intent in fueling the aircraft was because of interest in the safety of your crew. Therefore, our normal price to you of 0.011 per gallon will reign. Hopefully we may serve you again under more pleasant circumstances. It's nice. Where is, I tell you one thing that surprised me recently. People asking like some surprises. How fast Flight 305 or that plane was back in air. I mean, it was literally flying flights on November 26th. Like the bottom line, baby, we got a 727.
That's NIROP, baby. That's NIROP. I mean, he was. Yeah, Nikki, you go ahead because you were going to say the same thing I was.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, I'm like, I wonder if they flew it with the air skirt still like all like jacked up and like partly.
They fixed that.
Oh, okay.
It does say that they quickly fixed the air the stairs essentially.
Yeah, okay. NIROP was a notorious penny pincher, and a tightwad. So he was not going to allow that aircraft to be draining money while it sat on the tarmac somewhere. He wanted to get that thing back in service. In fact, I think Bill Radicek in his talk to the Historical Society talks about how I don't think they were given any days off after the hijacking. He just kind of laughed about when somebody suggested it. Did you get any time off? And he just kind of laughed. So yeah, Bill Nyrop was a tightwad. So yeah, he wanted to get that plane back in service right away.
Okay, I found out what it is basically, yeah. So there's actually 9,998 serial numbers on the list. So that they missed 220s on the serial numbers list. So that's what it was. So I don't think they shortchanged.
Yes, but there's also a note from Harrison talking about ha. It's like a I don't know if it was an autograph in a book or something, but he wrote like a little note like, ha, everybody would be surprised to learn that we shorted Cooper, $20 or we owe him $20 or something. It's not in like an official letter or anything. Yeah, it's some type of personalized note.
I love that I'm still learning things about this case. I had no idea Cooper got shortchanged for some fuel money.
Yeah, he was back there. It says
I don't think I've told you while you pull that up, Ryan. Mm-hmm. I don't think you know this, Nikki, but let me pull it up. Well, now I can't find it, so now I look like the mook. It's 324. Yeah, I can't find it.
What was it about?
It was about you might have it with you. It's the time that they officially inform that there's a hijacking. That the FBI is officially informed that there's a hijacking.
What are you wanting about that?
The time.
Oh,
it's it was from Pemberton memo.
Yes, I've got that. Yeah. Here it is. All right, Pemberton memo. 3:15 p.m. on the nose.
Yeah, it says. That's the very first time that the FBI was informed that that was the beginning of Norjack. Was 3:15.
Okay.
PM.
That was the beginning of Norjack, of the Norjack investigation. That's when the FBI was officially informed that there was a hijacking on board Flight 305.
Yeah.
I think that's a neat little.
Yeah, that's a cool factoid.
Neat little fact.
Well, no, I like the factoid that the plane lands in Reno. The plane lands in Reno at 11:02 p.m. and takes off from Reno at 11:02 a.m. So exactly 12 hours to the minute they spent there, and had to they had to leave their beer behind. I feel so bad for the crew because the passengers needed their bags back, and they're like, "Oh shit, right." Oh yeah, and Flo and Alice are still there. You know, pick them up. But although they left the plane there at Seattle, they flew the plane to Seattle and then left it there to get repairs done. And then they deadheaded. They flew as passengers back to Minneapolis, which I guess Alice would have flown with her husband. I don't know, but I like that trivia too. That when the plane took off from Minneapolis, Alice Hancock's husband was on the plane. It's kind of cool because he was dropped off at like Great Falls to go be a flight engineer on some other plane that day. So he was deadheading, hanging out with them, you know. So that's where we are. But let's see. Ground crews. If Cooper was Canadian, maybe he got in exchange the money. The money still would have come back to the U.S. at some point, if Canadian, and did anything. Although somebody mentioned earlier about something. One thing that would be nice is to hear the context. If we can ever hear the actual radio of Radicek saying negotiable American currency, like I'd like to hear the inflection there. Right. Because if that came from Cooper, that is a weird effing thing to say.
Right. That's another thing that the audio could potentially clear up for us, like it's kind of had on a couple other aspects here. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean that would be. I don't know.
That's really what's keeping the Canadian angle alive, I guess, in the Dan Cooper comic. But if you find out that's just another thing that got lost in translation.
Well, and I don't think it's. I mean, I think it's rather clever if you're a Canadian to go do a crime in America, because that's an extra layer of jurisdictional distance. Right? Because the FBI, we know the FBI went to Canada and were told to go kick rocks by the Mounties a few times. So,
yeah, it would have been a good built-in safeguard for them, right? You just go back across the border to Canada, no one could touch them.
Oh, there's Alan Kelly. Alan, I need you to, Alan, I'm gonna get you on my show next year, and say next month, but Alan, I'll get you on to talk about Finn. Okay.
What's up, Alan?
We'll do a Finn as Cooper discussion. And where did this Lakeich story come from all of a sudden? Like, and what is that picture of?
I think there was a podcast.
Okay.
What was that picture of his son? He looked like he just got off a Bender and Mardi Gras.
I know. Like, what in the world? It's like, it's like, okay, my dad, like, that's why, like, that was what I liked about the new suspect is when the daughter spoke to me, it's like, Mr. Burns, I really don't want my father to be DB Cooper, but I think he may have been. I liked that approach. I was like, okay, tell me more. You know, like, I don't want him to be. I really don't want my dad to be this villain, but he might have been.
Sure.
You know,
that tells you a lot right there. That it's someone approaching this with with some common sense at least, and they're not just caught up in some idea that they want, because most of the time, 90% is they want this person, and for whatever reason, they have attachment to him or whatever. They want this person to be DB Cooper.
Speaking of YouTube, folks, thank you as we're coming up on 3 hours. I am now over 5,000 subscribers, so that is
nice.
Thank you. I've gained 4,000 subscribers in a single year. So
good work, right?
Thank you. And some of these videos. It's weird, the videos that go viral. Like,
how many of those are bots that you paid for?
my Dan Grider bots, yes, like Grider. No, those are all hard earned. It's weird, the videos that go viral. Like the one about the stupid aft stairs has like 50,000 views. It's like, what?
Yeah, I know.
Like,
like more than
my
the audio.
I thought my Suspects one that I just put out would have maybe gone viral because people love Suspects, and it hasn't though. So although it can take time, the Babitsky story, that one's over 50,000, which is like, I don't know. It's weird which ones the algorithm gods pick.
Algorithm catches. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's really any rhyme or reason. It's just kind of random. But just keep pumping them out there. And
yeah, and like it's funny that I'll show everybody what they did. I'll end with this. Let me see if I think I sent it to Chris. Let me see if I thought I did. Did I not email that to? So it told me what videos. So it was like, here are suggestions. It was like, here are some suggestions that you should that your new videos should have. It was like an AI thing. It was like, Ryan, here are the next videos you should put out. And it was pretty funny. And by God, I'm not seeing it. And I thought I sent it to Chris. I guess not. I'm kind of upset about this now. I'm sorry, folks. Dadgum. Oh well, I guess I don't have it. But it was funny. It was like these are your next videos that you should put out. Damn it. I thought I sent it. Oh well. Anyways, we're at 3 hour mark, and so I'm gonna sign off as we do because we don't want to go on forever. And see if there's any. It's a very as a question for you, Nikki. Did Canada have labs with the metals found on Cooper's tie? Have y'all looked into that?
Yep. I believe Timon had a place in Canada. A bunch of specialty metal places had affiliates out in Canada. So, but the thing is, the tie was bought. The tie wasn't sold in Canada. JCPenney tie was only sold in the United States, and only in store. So you couldn't get it in order or anything like that from a catalog. So you had to have actually gotten that. Well, if Cooper's the person who bought it new, he would have bought it in a physical JCPenney location somewhere in the United States.
Slackjaw, what's the question? Slackjaw is saying that he had a question. Did I miss it? Slackjaw. All right, Slackjaw, you get the final question right there. And by the way, Max, I cannot do a video about the new Suspect when I yet to have permission to talk about the new Suspect. How can I do that?
You just have to hold your horses on it.
Yes. So we'll wait. Can the panel let the audience know who their favorite suspects are? McCoy, of course. Yeah, McCoy. No, Ryan, please. Yes, yes, I am still live, Matt Cohn, but barely. We're going off the air, man. What's the permission? What do you mean, Max? I don't have permission to give his name out yet or his info by the family. Okay.
Email me. I'll give it to you. I don't care.
Shut up. This is 100% a shot in the dark, and I don't think it's reasonable. However, do you think Cooper worked with weights? Like, I need to work with X cash with X height. What? You mean like, did he do skydives with that weight? I see what you're saying. Did he like prepare? You're saying. I think that's giving him too much credit.
I have no idea. Well, Maybe
he didn't like.
Because Cooper thought it was going to come in a knapsack. Also, Cooper did not specify denominations. Maybe there's some. I don't know. I am this close to rewriting in my book that Cooper asked for 20s. Because we've got Flo and Tina in post-hijacking interviews saying that Cooper asked for 20s and that they did not write that down. And they were like, oh shit. And then when that showed up in 20s, they're like, okay, good. So I just have a really hard time with when a witness contradicts a later statement, or when they contradict an earlier statement 10 years later. I just want to go with the statement they gave that night. If it's contradictory, I mean, I think that makes sense, right? See, Tom says, I don't want to support any crime or ex-criminals making money from their crime. What ex-criminals? Who has a criminal? What criminals are?
Me either.
Yeah, I don't want to be there. I don't want giving criminals any money. That's a good answer. Thank you, says Slackjaw. Somebody said, "Who?" Yeah, our favorite suspects. I don't know. I mean, Nikki, do you still like Milt?
Yeah, Milt Riddell's still my favorite suspect. I haven't moved off of, so yeah, I'm still Milt. But I think your new guy's great. A couple of other new suspects that might be popping out, I think, are pretty interesting as well. So
suspects are getting better. I'll say that. And Chris, look, I mean, Chris has never been really a suspect guy, but Chris, like Tom K, Tom K came out and said, "Thank you, Ryan, for, raising the bar on suspects." Tom K said that. He's like, Tom K is not a suspect guy, but he's like, at least we have some real suspects these days. And Chris, you're not a suspect person ever, but I mean, what do you think of, do you think the suspects are getting better?
In what context?
And I guess maybe not though, because see, your opinion is Cooper. It really is an every guy loser, basically, and not a.
Well, yeah, I think that's an
overgeneralization.
Yeah, I don't think he's Ted. I don't think he's Ted Braden-esque. I don't want to throw any shade at
CIA
the
guy,
guys. But I don't think he's a Ted Braden type of person. I think he's probably more like a LaPointe. Just an everyman.
Melvin Fisher.
But, to answer the question, my suspect that I've been on for a while is a fellow by the name of Art Lavario Sr., who was a kind of a small-time gangster in Phoenix, Arizona.
A hood.
So he was sort of a small-time hood who went missing at right about the same time. So spend some time on Name It, you'll know who I'm talking about. So, but I've exhausted that. I've researched that to the point where I got nothing more on the guy, and nothing, really that ties him to anything. But yeah,
just a missing person who
checks all the boxes as far as description is concerned,
and whose family who was not added to NamUs until 40 years after his disappearance, right?
29 was not reported missing until 2019.
There you go, folks. That's like,
so
there's that
Himmelsbach. Yeah. So if the FBI went looking at any missing persons list in 1971, his name would not appeared on it.
They're missing some people. Yeah. And it's like Himmelsbach always said, sometimes people aren't reported missing because when they're not around, no one misses them.
I think that would be true in this case.
Yes, for sure. For any guy who hijacks a plane is probably antisocial a little bit. Just not me saying. So anyway, all right, folks. Thank you, and thanks, Nikki. Thanks, Chris. I love you guys.
Thanks, guys.
And,
cool hanging. Y'all have a good one.
And we will talk to you guys again. It's all about to you. It's all about to you. Bye, y'all.
Peace.
Later.